Chapter 190. If it wasn't for Gaia swatting the youngster's hand from Michael's hand, Nightmare would have bitten or even used dragon's breath on him. Nightmare sensed a tinge of negative energy from the youngster towards Michael. Michael chose not to pour the healing potion into Sabrina's mouth but placed the potion on the table beside her bed. "Do what you want, she's your family. Please, forgive our rudeness, young master." Samuel quickly bowed before taking the potion in his hand. He then took a sniff as his eyes widened in shock. This is a healing potion and it's 80% pure. Michael had a feeling that the old butler might know more about alchemy than anyone else in the room. "What do you expect? He's a 5-star alchemist," Gaia said loudly enough for everyone to hear her words crystal clear. "You're Ghost of River Town, the 5-star alchemist of Bredia," one of the guards who accompanied Captain Giles shouted, making everyone stare at Michael in a new light. Ding! Congratulations to the host for successfully being a badass. The reward is 400 badass points. Ding! Congratulations to the host for successfully being a badass. The reward is 700 badass points. It was obvious that most of the people in the room had heard his name before. Otherwise, he would have earned almost 4,000 badass points just by Gaia revealing his identity. Only Samuel focused on the task on hand as he moved closer to Sabrina to empty the healing potion into her mouth. "Wait, what if it dash?" The same youngster who interrupted Michael shouted, but Samuel already emitted half of the potion into her mouth. It only took a couple of seconds for Sabrina's body to regain the rosiness. Samuel heaved a sigh of relief. "Sabi!" Just as Sabrina's body was turning from pale to fair, someone screamed her name. Michael turned his head to see a woman in her late 30s. Tears rolled out of her beautiful face. She came running to Sabrina's side. "What happened to my Sabi?" She shook Sabrina's shoulder. It had enough force as well as gentleness. "Mom?" Sabrina slowly opened her eyes. Out of nowhere, Sabrina lunged at her mother, hugging her tightly. Sabrina too sobbed continuously without giving a damn about the audience. Although she was a brave girl, she almost died back at the maple forest, which really shook her to the core. "Young master, what happened back there?" Captain Giles asked Michael. Everyone quickly turned their gazes from Sabrina to Michael, curiously looking at him for his answer. "It was Alden." "Alden Budge," Sabrina's voice contained a mix of shock and anger. "Alden Bellwatch? The heir of House Bellwatch?" Captain Giles asked while the people in the room seemed stunned. Knowing he could earn badass points by telling them what happened at the maple forest, Michael started to explain how he saved Sabrina without coming out neither too braggy nor too humble. The events unraveled back at the maple forest sent chills running through everyone's spines. The old butler almost looked like he was about to have a heart attack. His body shivered, not because of the cold but because of the thought of losing Sabrina, the little princess of the Winston family. Michael could tell Samuel is blaming himself for everything that happened, but Michael didn't give a damn. All he wanted was to milk as much as badass points from these people and bug Noah's room. Nightmare's actions may have brought him an opportunity, but it might also put him in danger if Alden had someone behind him, someone dangerous. "Sabi! What happened to you?" Another 3 shouts sounded in the room as 3 women in their early 40s or late 30s entered the room. They ignored everyone else, running directly towards Sabrina. Soon, Sabrina got embraced by the 3 ladies. Thank you so much, young master." Samuel grabbed Michael's hand, shaking it frantically with both hands. It was true that Samuel held a bit of a grudge because Ghost was a better alchemist than his young master, Noah. However, at this moment, all the grudge in his heart towards Ghost vanished away and was replaced with gratefulness. Samuel couldn't even imagine what would have happened to Sabrina if Ghost did not appear when he did. He also felt grateful for the baby dragon sitting on his shoulder. "No need to thank me, but please be careful next time." Michael patted Samuel's shoulder before turning his gaze towards Gaia. "Elia, let's go." Michael began to walk out, expecting Samuel to stop him. "Young master, please." Just as he expected, Samuel called out to him, stopping him in his way. "You saved out young Miss Life. Please let us show our gratitude." While Michael was pretending to be thinking about how he could politely decline his offer, one of the 3 ladies who just recently arrived came to him. The lady had a resemblance with the woman who came first. She looked at Michael, her eyes were filled with tears and gratitude. She grabbed Michael's hands, squeezing them. Thank you so much." Just as the lady was expressing her gratitude, Sabrina and the three ladies, including her mother, came to Michael. The lady who came first looked directly into his eyes. She seemed tired, a line of black circles occupied her skin under her eyes. Surprisingly, she took Michael's face in her soft hands, like a mother grabbing her child's face. "Thank you." Ever since he said he saved Sabrina, everyone was thanking him, but nothing felt more genuine than the words escaped her mouth. Compared to her, even Samuel's words seemed fake. She gently brushed his hair. "You saved our family's happiness." Michael did not expect such a gesture from the woman, but he couldn't help feeling a warmth in his heart. Both in his previous life or the current one, he never felt a mother's love. This was the closest he got to a mother's love. The woman in front of him was looking at him like she was looking at her own son. Just as he emerged in wonder, his instincts screamed at him as he saw one of the guards behind Captain Giles drawing out a jade dagger from his waist. "Watch out!" Michael embraced Diana before turning around, showing his back at the guard. The next moment, Michael's responsive shield kicked in, yet he felt a sharp pain in his shoulder. "Lady Diana!" "Diana! Intruder!" "Ghost!" The room was thrown into chaos when the guard suddenly drew his weapon, trying to kill Diana. The guard was trained, extremely trained, as he was faster than everyone else in the room except Michael. Him drawing his dagger to plunge it into Michael's shoulder happened in just a few seconds. Even though the responsive shield absorbed most of the force behind the guard's stab, it still penetrated the shield, stabbing Michael in the shoulder because the guard was at the body strengthening stage level 7. Gaia lunged at the guard, radiating overwhelming killing intent that pushed away many people in the room. The guard took out his dagger from Michael's shoulder to stab him again, but Michael was faster. He protected Diana in one hand and grabbed the guard in the other. The guard may have managed to stab him the first time, but Michael wasn't going to give him a second chance. Ignitia, golden bolts of lightning emerged from Michael's hand that was around the guard's neck. Pop! The guard's scream abruptly stopped when his head exploded into a red mist like a watermelon. Ding! Congratulations to the host for killing a body-strengthening stage level 7 cultivator. The reward is 28,000 experience points and 1,500 badass points. Ah! Mother! Diana! Lady Diana! Various shouts sounded in Michael's head as his hands still tightly wrapped around Diana. Only after the guards drew their weapons out and confirmed there were no more assassins in the room, Michael released Diana, but bolts of lightning still danced around his hand, making crackling electricity noise. The sudden change of events stunned Nightmare. After seeing a human plunging his dagger into Ghost, Nightmare's heart rapidly pounded against his chest. But Gaia's heartbeat felt like it wanted to jump out from her chest. The whole room was dead silent for a few moments before the three ladies who seemed to be Diana's sisters surrounded her. "Lady Diana, are you all right? Diana, are you hurt? Who dared to attack the Lady of Winston family?" "Guards!" While everyone's in shock, Gaia leaped at him, checking him as her eyes began to well up. "Human, it's okay," Michael reassured Gaia. Nightmare was still in shock as no words came out of his mouth. "I'm fine." Diana was still shivering, yet she let out a smile and came to check on Michael. "You're bleeding." Michael turned his gaze from Gaia to Diana when he heard the gentle-looking lady scream. Before even Michael could notice his bleeding shoulder, Diana tore a piece of cloth from the cape hanging from her behind. She frantically wrapped the cloth around his left shoulder. "It was my fault." Tears rained down from her eyes. Many who came out of the shock were surprised to see this gesture. The lady of the Winston family tore her expensive dress to tend to a total stranger's wound. Samuel quickly glanced at the house guards, wordlessly telling them to escort everyone except the closest family members outside. Diana forgot about everything, including Sabrina's close death experience, as her mind went blank seeing the blood coming out of this youngster's shoulder. Michael could easily drink the healing potion and heal his wound, but he was already being led to Sabrina's bed by Diana. "Lady Diana, I'm fine." Michael was surprised by her motherly love. The affection, The motherly love in her eyes were genuine and pure. For the first time in his 2 lives, he was experiencing a mother's love. "You're not." She yelled at him, again like a mother. Chapter 191. Realizing the woman has lost all reasoning because of shock, Gaia retrieved a healing potion from her space ring. "Here, take it." Gaia sat on Michael's other side, handing him over the healing potion. He was sandwiched between a loving mother and a caring girlfriend. "Come here." While Nightmare was gawking at Diana, Sabrina plucked him up from Michael's shoulder. Nightmare seemed he's still in shock as no words escaped his mouth to protest. "Lady Diana, I'm all right." "Look, the bleeding stopped," Michael told her again. Even without his control, his voice sounded extremely gentle. "Samuel, bring me healer Adele." Diana frantically shook her head, refusing to let go of his hand. "Yes, Lady Diana," Michael sighed. He initially wanted to spend a few hours here so he could release the spiders into the house, but now he realized that Diana is going to make him stay here for at least a few days. "You must be tired after everything that happened. Come on, sweetie, I'll make something for you to eat." "You too, sweetheart," Diana said, locking her arms with Michael's. She then smiled beautifully at Gaia before playfully pinching Gaia's rosy butterball of a cheek. "Meet my sweet mother." Sabrina finally let out a chuckle, neglecting what happened a few hours ago. Mushroom soup, bitter greens with tomatoes the size of peas, rare roast beef slices as thin as paper, noodles in a green sauce, cheese that melts on one's tongue served with sweet blue grapes. The servers, all young people dressed in white thick tunics with layers of fur, move wordlessly to and from the table, keeping the platters and glasses full. When Diana said she's going to make something to eat, Michael didn't expect she would prepare a frickin' feast. After seeing the various delicious-looking dishes on the table, Gaia's face lightened up a bit. The aroma radiating from the dishes overwhelmed both the dragon and the snake's senses. They couldn't wait to dig into the food, but they had to wait for everyone to seat themselves at the table. It was a long oak table that could easily let 30 people dine on. The throne-looking chair at the front of the table was empty, which obviously belonged to the lord of the family. Diana seated herself next to Michael, acting like a personal maid to him. Fortunately, Michael's plate did not have enough space to contain all the dishes Diana personally cooked. "Lady Diana, are you planning to kill me with food?" Michael chuckled, only to receive a slap on the wrist from Diana. "Noah is a really lucky guy." Michael stared at everyone at the table. The dining room was filled with laughter. Everyone seemed to forget what happened earlier and immerse themselves in nothing but happiness. Except for the youngster who stopped Michael earlier, everyone was extremely friendly towards Michael, Gaia, and the little dragon. "So Ghost, what's your plan on Kethin?" Diana's elder sister, Imelda, asked. Just like Diana, Imelda, and her younger sister, Natalia too had golden hair. Although the 3 ladies were laughing happily, Michael noticed a tinge of sorrow buried deep within Natalia's eyes. Every time Natalia's eyes fell on the chair Nightmare was sitting on, the sorrow became more obvious. Her smile would instantly disappear from her face for a moment as her eyes slightly welled up. Natalia did a good job wiping out the tears from the corners of her eyes, but Michael noticed this without Natalia noticing him. The 3 beautiful women were so graceful that they could make anyone respect them in a matter of seconds. "We're attending the weekend auction in Ice Fair," Michael answered, placing the spook and the knife on the plate. "Buying or selling?" Imelda questioned him. "Let him eat in peace, Ami," Diana playfully yelled at her sister. "Selling, but if something interesting comes across, I might buy it," Michael answered with a smile. "How's the food, Elia? Nightmare?" Diana asked. Nightmare was surprisingly good at maintaining table manners. He did not eat like a wild beast at the dining table, but used his claws to pick the meat from the plate and ate almost like a human. "Good, Lady Diana." Nightmare had a good impression on Lady Diana. He politely answered her, although it was nowhere close to the cooking of Raylene. "Good," Gaia answered Diana, taking a bite of the mushroom fry. "Good. Auntie Diana's cooking is the best." The same youngster rolled his eyes, making a few people at the table awkwardly smile because of his tone. "It's that they used to eat Raylene's cooking, Lady Diana. She's a 5-star chef." "Oh, what?" A 5-star chef. It took several seconds for Imelda to realize the meaning of Michael's words. You are all welcome to the opening of our restaurant. Michael gave them an invitation as it would increase the reputation of his establishment quickly. Of course, we will. Now would you like some roasted pulse tetra? Do I have a choice, Lady Diana? No. The laughter continued as they all talked about some boring things which Michael answered with either a smile or a nod. He's just like Noah, isn't he? Imelda asked Diana as Gaia almost coughed up the food in her mouth. Michael was the last thing one could compare to Noah. Accept your choice in dress colors, am I right, Samuel? Yes, Lady Imelda. Young Master Noah likes to wear white whereas young Master Ghost seemed to favor black, the old butler said before stepping towards Michael with a bottle of wine. Water is enough for me. I don't drink wine, ale, or any kind of liquor. Michael surprised everyone at the table yet again. They all stared at him like he spoke some forbidden words. You don't drink liquor? Sabrina asked. Surprise and disbelief were written all over her face. Yes, bad for the body and hinder your cultivation speed. As a 5-star alchemist, Michael knew all about a cultivator's body. It was a lucky coincidence that his non-drinking habit was actually a good thing for his current life as liquors affected the body, obstructing the energy paths in one's body resulting in a slow cultivation level. That might be the reason for your cultivation speed, huh? Sabrina said. Michael could tell the girl had just taken a note in her mind and expected her to follow his habit from this day onwards. If you don't mind me asking, what are you planning to sell? Imelda seemed to like asking questions. A few herbs like cold grass, seaweed, ravenflower. Ravenflower? Natalia almost screamed. Everyone's gaze fell on Natalia as Michael noticed a glimpse of sorrow emerge on Diana's face. Yes, Michael's voice trailed off. Natalia, we already have a ravenflower, remember? Diana asked as Natalia sighed. It's just that my nephew has fallen sick to starpox. We had to scour through the kingdom to find the ravenflower. If only Lord Gabriel accepts to brew the phoenix potion, Imelda sighed. Michael noticed Diana open and close her mouth as she had something to ask. He had already guessed what that would be, but he wanted them to ask rather than offering his help. Sweetie, can you? However, Michael's heart completely melted before even she could ask for his help. She had this weird effect on him ever since he saw her. He couldn't bear to see the woman he just met a couple of hours ago plead. You don't need Gabriel to brew the phoenix potion. I can brew it in my sleep. The whole room fell silent after the words escaped his words. Natalia's face lightened up. She immediately stood from her chair before running to Michael. Can you? Natalia squeezed his palms. Gaia's jaw slightly dropped. She wondered what made her selfish human offer his help like candies. First, he almost risked his life to save Diana, and now, he was about to help save Natalia's son. Their main plan was to bug Noah's room, but she could tell he was deviating from the plan. Have you got all the ingredients? Yes, young master, we got everything one needs to brew the potion. Wait, we only got enough ingredients to brew a potion. What if he messed up? I trust him, Jacob. For the first time, Michael saw the gentle-looking Diana turning into a domineering woman. The smile on her face was replaced with a stern look. Her sharp gaze seemed like it could cut anything in half. How can we trust this guy? Jacob protested, but this time his tone was not as loud and rude as before. It's that or waiting for Gabriel to accept your request. I think I don't have to tell you about the starpox. Shut up, Jacob. Natalia snapped. All the grief buried within her exploded in the form of anger. It was not a secret that starpox would kill the infected in 3 months if left untreated. Only wealthy people like Noah's family had the resources or the gold to get the cure, the phoenix potion. However, the potion was extremely reactive. It had to be used in a few minutes after brewing or it would react with anything such as air and lose all of its medicinal quality. This was the reason that the phoenix potion wouldn't be available in auction houses and needed to be brewed at the spot by an alchemist above 3-star level. Weirdly enough, Michael had a soft spot for the motherly lady, Diana. Only because of her, he decided to lend a helping hand instead of giving Jacob the middle finger. Chapter 192. Samuel, bring him the ingredients. Diana quickly ordered the old butler before the situation could escalate further. Humph! Jacob snickered before storming out of the dining hall with a few of his lackeys following him behind. Jacob, let him go, Imelda. Diana grabbed Imelda by her hand when she tried to stop the youngster. The previous laughter in the hall was completely gone and replaced with silence. They had never seen their kind third lady snap like that. Even after her only son fell victim to starpox, she never showed the grief on her face as she believed her family would do absolutely everything to save her son. It had been 2 months since her son was infected with starpox. If they didn't give him the Phoenix potion within the next 30 days, there was no doubt that she would lose her only son. Now, where is your son, Lady Natalia? Michael wondered why Jacob wants him gone as soon as possible. He didn't have to act that way. Michael had a feeling that Jacob is feeling threatened by his presence but couldn't find out why yet. This way, young master. Enjoy the rest of the day, gentlemen, Diana announced, looking at the people in the dining hall. Knowing the meaning of her words, they all bowed and left the dining hall. Only the 3 ladies, Sabrina, Samuel accompanied Michael to Natalia's son's room. Considering there were no guards following them, Gaia retrieved a couple of spiders from her space ring before leaving them in dark corners of the corridor without anyone noticing. Except for Michael, none of them had a clue about the little spies in their home. After passing Sabrina's room and following Samuel for a few more minutes, Michael appeared before a door that had the name Andrew written on a dark brown oak door. Samuel opened the door to reveal an old woman was sitting on the bed. Beside the old woman, a blonde youngster sleeping peacefully. The old woman was applying a purple ornament on Andrew's forehead. Healer Adele. The old woman waved her hands at Imelda as she was telling all of them to scurry off. Healer Adele, we have found a 5-star alchemist, Samuel said. Only then the old woman turned her gaze away from Andrew. Soon she locked eyes with Michael. The system notified Michael of her healer trait. Despite the disheveled hair and rather normal-looking clothes, Healer Adele was a core formation level 5 cultivator. A glimmer of surprise flashed across her face looking at Michael. Grandma, Sabrina ran to Adele like a puppy running to its owner. I heard what happened. I'm glad you're safe, Sabi. You should have listened to Samuel and took more men with you. Michael ignored their conversation, walking towards Andrew to check on him. His memories from Abras contained information about starpox, and the Book of Alchemy he used to become a 5-star alchemist made him understand not only starpox but all the diseases in this world. Except for his forehead that had purple ointment applied on, the rest of his body was pale. Tiny marks shaped like a star riddled his body. Furthermore, his body temperature was jumping between hot and cold. How pure will the potion be? Healer Adele asked while Michael was feeling Andrew's temperature by placing his hand on Andrew's neck. However, instead of giving a straight answer to Adele, he questioned her. How long has he been like this? It was obvious Andrew is infected with starpox, but when Michael checked his temperature, he sensed Andrew's abnormal pulses. A patient with starpox was supposed to have a slow pulse rate, but Andrew's pulse rate was abnormally high. For the last 2 months. And how long has he had this high pulse rate? He was really curious as his tone conveyed his curiosity. His pulse rate has been increasing since last month. Nightmare, you can see energy pathways inside a body, right? Check his energy pathways. What's happening to my Andrew? Hearing the conversation between Adele and Michael, Natalia's eyes rained down tears. Imelda and Diana wrapped their hands around her to console her. Nightmare flew towards Michael before comfortably landing on his shoulder. His black eyes then turned blue, staring at Andrew. Everyone except Natalia, who was sobbing looking at Andrew, stared at Nightmare for his answer. They had no idea about Nightmare's ability to see energy pathways in a cultivator's body. Even Michael had no clear idea about the extent of Nightmare's power. To learn more about dragons, he needed to travel to Azer, but for now, Michael had no desire to travel there. The room fell silent. All the eyes were on Nightmare, expecting him to speak up. Energy clusters are forming inside his body, blocking the arch energy from circulating his body. What does it mean? It was not Natalia but Diana who questioned Nightmare. Her voice stuttered and her eyes welled up. Healer Adele frowned, but before she could speak, Michael needed to do one more thing before drawing the conclusion. Lady Diana, I need daydream bearberry, putrid belladonna, and blistering berry. I will tell you why later. I will get them to you, young master. Samuel left the room. These were all common ingredients found in any noble household as they were used to treat common colds, flu, and wounds. You think. Healer Adele, however, knew why he was asking for those 3 herbs. Her voice trailed off. She didn't think of that particular possibility before. What's happening to him? Gaia came to his side and whispered in his ears. Michael didn't answer her but waited for Samuel to arrive. Soon, the old butler entered the room, carrying a tray with the 3 herbs on it. I need some space, Michael said. They quickly walked away from him to the corner of the room without asking any questions. They wanted to, but they chose not to except for Sabrina. What are you planning to do? You will see, Michael would have answered her, but he planned to show off his alchemy skills to earn more badass points from them. If he told them what he's about to do, they would be more focused on that rather than being awestruck by his skills. The green flames emerged from his hand, lightening the entire room in green. He then waved his other hand as the herbs flew straight into the flames. Ding! Congratulations to the host for successfully being a badass. The reward is 1,000 badass points. Ding! Congratulations to the host for successfully being a badass. The reward is 1,200 badass points. He was laughing inside, happily seeing the increase in badass points. Diana and everyone were stunned to see him brew a potion without the help of the cauldron. He showed them that he's on the next level compared to Noah. Grandma, how is he? Sabrina's jaw dropped in shock. She questioned Adele. Even Gabriel can't do this. The old woman's voice was not loud, but it was loud enough for everyone to hear. Seeing that Adele addressed Gabriel by his first name without any honorifics, Michael realized that Adele might know him personally. He snickered inside because after establishing connections with more powerhouses, he would show his true potential to the world. At that time, Gabriel wouldn't be the #1 alchemist of Elon anymore, he would be the second. After today's events, he was positive that the House of Winston would support him. After all, he saved not only Sabrina but also Diana from getting assassinated in her own house. Soon afterward, a sky-blue liquid formed inside the green flames. If this potion changed its color from blue to green, Michael's voice trailed off. He looked at Adele to finish his sentence. He was poisoned, as Michael expected. Healer Adele finished his sentence. Poisoned? Healer Adele, what are you talking about? No! The room was filled with the cries of the 3 ladies. Sabrina had an expression of shock and disbelief on her face. Michael waved his hand, sending the sky-blue liquid towards Andrew before they could ask any questions to him. He was almost certain that Andrew was poisoned and wanted to confirm his suspicion. The Winstons were already in his debt, and by saving him, he would not only earn badass points but could also increase their trust. Since the House of Winston was the most powerful family in Penn Town, he wanted them as allies. He planned to use them to expand his business empire. The sky-blue liquid spread itself on Andrew's body like a blanket. Natalia prayed to the gods, asking them the potion to stay blue. She did not want to face the reality that her son might be poisoned. However, the gods betrayed her as the sky-blue potion slowly turned from blue to jade green. Diana and Imelda's hearts skipped a beat seeing the transformation. He was poisoned. Adele was startled. If it was the starpox, she knew a talented 5-star alchemist like him could brew the Phoenix potion to save Andrew. However, on top of starpox, Andrew was poisoned. This made healing Andrew a lot more complicated. Natalia fainted on the spot. She couldn't bear to face this new reality. Everyone was so stunned that they failed to notice the grin on Gaia's face. She was already planning to ask for a permit to open businesses in Penn Town without any taxes. By saving Sabrina and Diana, they could most probably earn the permit, but if Michael could cure Andrew, there was no doubt that they would receive the permit. Little by little, she felt less annoyed with Nightmare because if it wasn't for him sticking his nose into Sabrina's business, it would have been difficult to get into Winston Compound, bug their house, and earn the permit to operate any business without paying a single gold coin. Plus, when Noah heard about Ghost saving his family twice in a single day, he would feel indebted to him. This might help Michael in the long run. Chapter 193. Sweetie, you can cure him, right? Diana wiped off the tears that were running out of her eyes. Michael was not a soft-hearted guy, but when he saw the pain, grief, and helplessness in Natalia's eyes, helping this helpless mother became his main objective, and taking advantage of the situation became secondary. First, we need to find what kind of poison is in his body. A wrong antidote could complicate the situation further. Michael did not say kill him for the sake of Natalia, but everyone could tell he was sugarcoating it. Lady Diana, this is not a coincidence. First Alden tried to kill Sabrina and another one tried to assassinate you on the same day. Someone really wants to hurt your family, but Alden is dead, right? Sabrina asked. Honestly, the three ladies were in denial of the assassination attempt on Diana. However, Michael's words shattered their wall of denial. Where are the men? Gaia asked. She noticed that the majority of the people in the house were women and children, and Diana seemed to be the authority. Gaia wondered where Diana's and the other two ladies' husbands were. My husband and my brothers-in-law were summoned by Duke Slade, along with most of our soldiers. Is there a war going on that we don't know about? Yes. Duke Marvin is at war with Duke Ivan, Sabrina answered Gaia as everything made sense to Michael. Since House Winston sent most of their manpower to accompany the Duke Marvin War, it became the perfect time to seek revenge by killing the people in the compound. They were basically sitting ducks to be slaughtered at this point. Michael really questioned the competence of Diana's husband because it was pretty dumb to leave his family unprotected like this. Noah should take care of his family before taking care of others, Michael thought in his mind. We'll be safer after young Miss Rowena and young Master Noah arrive. When will that be? Michael wanted to leave the place before Noah came. Michael did not like the company Noah keeps, especially Alicia. Besides, if Noah brought Zanali with him, it might jeopardize Gaia's safety. He wasn't going to take any chances when it came to Gaia's safety. Healer Adele, can you find what kind of poison in his body? Sabrina asked Adele, but the old woman shook her head. The poison might have already mixed with Andrew's blood. It'd be damn hard to find it now. No. Andrew. Natalia began to scream. Her cry reverberated the entire compound. If I were you, I would start rounding up my enemies who have the motive to hurt my family, Gaia said. Uncle Samuel, get me a team. I'll hunt down all our enemies. Like she learned nothing from today's events, Sabrina volunteered for this task. No. Well, ask Captain Giles to do that. Diana immediately rejected Sabrina. But Mom, no buts. Yet again, Diana raised her voice, stomping the ground. Sabrina halted her steps in shock and didn't choose to test her mother's patience. Please, save my son, Natalia stuttered, sobbing in grief. I need to be alone to find a way. Michael did know a way to identify the poison in Andrew's body, but he wanted to take time to heal him because he trusted his instincts. Michael then stepped towards Natalia and squatted in front of her to take her hands. I will save your son. He then whipped off the tears running from her eyes. He was not a goody-two-shoes who would help out anyone, but something about this family made him help them. Something deep down of him couldn't let this family suffer. There was still no doubt that Michael would kill Noah in a heartbeat if he stood in Michael's path, but Michael really wished he didn't. Besides, by helping this family, he could build a good Samaritan reputation that would hide his Lucifer persona. After all, many wouldn't suspect a good doer to be an evildoer in the night. Thank you, the three ladies said in unison as Samuel stepped forward to lead Michael to his room. Where did this bastard come from? Jacob was shouting at a figure wearing a cloak to hide their face. The veins on Jacob's face seemed like they were about to explode. He was shaking and walking from one end of his room to another. It doesn't matter. Alden is dead. We need to find another way to get what we want, the hooded figure said, taking off his clout to reveal himself. I know that, Giles. Alden is fucking idiot who lost all his reasons after Noah killed his family. I said I could kill Andrew without all that Starpox nonsense, but no, he said he wanted Noah's family to suffer. Captain Giles listened to Jacob's rant, stroking his beard. Now that he's gone, I can finish off Andrew before that ghost bastard cures him and moves on to kill Noah. Then I will be the next lord of the family. Don't forget our deal, Jacob. My employer wants Diana dead. What's your employer's beef with that bitch anyway? I don't know the exact reason, but I can tell it's something to do with Noah. Of course it is. That bastard runs around pissing off the powerhouses, making more enemies to House Winston. He's more trouble than what he's worth. Jacob's face turned red as a fresh tomato in anger. Ever since they were little, Noah always overshadowed him by overachieving in pretty much everything. It was the sight of the girl he loved with Noah that snapped Jacob. When he first laid his eyes on the red-haired beauty, he immediately fell in love only to realize that she was a guardian who came to Penn Town accompanying Noah. Jacob never expected the red-haired beauty to fall in love with Noah. Although they acted like they were just friends, Jacob wasn't a naive kid to believe they were just friends. The tension between Noah and the red-haired beauty was obvious to him. Jacob now wanted to kill Noah and take over the family before the elders name him the next in line for the family head seat. Who was that guy who tried to kill Diana today? That was a dumb move, Giles. I think it was Alden's backup plan to hurt Noah. Good thing that ghost guy killed him instantly without capturing him alive. Giles heaved a sigh of relief. What are you gonna do about Andrew? I'd say let him be, he won't be alive in a month anyways. Jacob frantically shook his head, taking out a small vial of purple glistening liquid. I have a feeling Ghost might be able to save him. I want both Noah and Andrew to die. Only then I can get what I want without killing most of the elders. Is that the same venom you used to poison Andrew? Yes. If it wasn't for Alden asking me to use only a few drops, I would have used the entire bottle and killed Andrew 2 months ago. A devilish grin appeared on Jacob's face. What about the Phoenix potion? Didn't Alden say giving Andrew the Phoenix poison was equal to killing him? Yeah, the potion and this poison would react in some sort of weird way, killing Andrew horribly, then let Ghost brew the potion? Why did you try to stop him earlier? Look what happened now. That fucking bastard found out Andrew's poisoned and currently making something to save Andrew. If he hadn't seen Andrew or tried to brew Phoenix potion, they wouldn't have found the truth. Now I have to finish the job. How do you plan to do that? Don't worry about that, Giles. I can poison Andrew in front of Natalia and she wouldn't even notice. Giles saw a glimmer emerge in Jacob's hand. He looked closer to see a tiny needle come out of the ring in Jacob's middle finger. The needle quickly retracted itself back into the ring as Jacob willed. Few more drops of poison would do the trick, Jacob grinned, pouring the purple venom a few drops at a time onto his hand. The ring in his hand glimmered again before absorbing the venom into itself. I knew something was off about that guy. Inside the room given to Michael by the Winstons, he and Gaia were watching Jacob and Gaia through the mirror connected to the spiders. Stupid fuck. If you want to kill someone, you shouldn't draw all attention to yourself. Gaia shook her head like she was disappointed in Jacob. It was Jacob's stupidity of messing with Michael that made Michael send a few spiders to his room. If Jacob had just stayed silent all the time, Michael wouldn't have suspected him in the first place. Although we know about Jacob and Giles, we can't go accuse them unless we say that yeah, we bugged your entire house. Only people like guardians need evidence, Gaia. People like us, we create evidence. Michael took out a paper and quill from his space ring to forge a letter that was supposed to be from Captain Giles to Jacob, implying all the information needed for the Winstons to suspect both of them. Michael didn't worry about guileless, mysterious employer because that was not his problem, it was Noah. After all, although Michael had a soft spot for this family, he knew he can't always be there to save them. Who knows, if he was lucky, he could get a gift from the system when he cured Andrew. He did get one when he saved Raylene and the children. Chapter 194, You look cute, Michael said, squatting down to brush Gaia's head. She was in her miniature snake form. Her scales were glimmering in violet. 2 round eyes with vertical slit pupils stared at Michael. In Michael's eyes, she resembled a king cobra of Earth, only she was violet and 1.5 meters long. I'm not cute, she hissed, but Michael surprised her with a kiss on her snakehead. For me, you are. Michael already put the letter in his interlinked space ring so she could access the letter when she reached Jacob's room. Then he took out a colorless liquid and poured the liquid all over her body. You're wet, he blinked at her, letting out a playful smile. And you are a pervert, she hissed again before leaving the room towards Jacob's. A few minutes after Gaia left the room, Nightmare flew through the opened window to Michael's shoulder. I checked the surroundings, no intruders in the vicinity. It's better to be safe than sorry. Michael patted Nightmare on the head. He then just sat on his bed waiting for Gaia to finally put his plan in motion. While sitting on his bed, he could see the shadows flicker outside the room through the gap under the door. It was obvious either one of the three ladies was waiting for him outside his room. Ignoring the person outside his room, he began to control the spiders to move to every room in the manor. From today onwards, if anything happens in Noah's home, Michael would know it sooner than Noah himself. He did not have a clear idea about what he could learn from bugging Noah's home, but he hoped that he would get some valuable information on guardians. After a few minutes of waiting, the violet snake slowly advanced into the room through the opened windows before transforming into her human form. She then looked at him, giving him a thumbs up with a wide grin on her face. Everything's in place, but before we go out, we need to decide what should we ask in return for what we did to them. What do you have in mind? Michael asked as Nightmare stared at her curiously. He could tell her by looking at her face that she already has something in her mind. License to open businesses in Penn Town with no taxes. Free permits from the Winstons. Although Michael had no plans to open any business in Penn Town, he knew getting these free permits would greatly help him in the future. Until now, he had no need for permits as Rivertown is said to have belonged to the Sunrise sect. Therefore, he didn't pay any taxes to Baron Totonk except a small percentage of the profits to the sect. The only source of income for the Sunrise sect was this small percentage they got from the Majestic. However, this would soon change when they merge with the Broad River sect. Don't ask them before they ask what we need, Michael said. All right, Gaia knew they would try to repay Michael's kindness somehow, and when they try, she would ask for free permits. Let's go. With a plan to end both Giles and Jacob's lives, Michael walked towards the door. Sweetie, the moment Michael opened the door, he saw Diana waiting for him with Imelda and Natalia. The three ladies leaned towards him, expecting his answer. I have found a way to save Andrew, but we need to act quickly. Thank the gods. Diana and Imelda heaved a sigh of relief as Natalia shed tears of joy. Lead the way. Michael gestured at Diana with a smile as she frantically nodded before walking towards Andrew's room. On his way to Andrew's room, he saw a large group of guards gathered at the hall on the first floor. Sabrina was standing in front of them and seemed to coordinate with the guards. When Michael opened Andrew's room, Samuel was covering Andrews with a thick wool bed sheet to prevent the cold from seeping into his body. Sitting on the bed beside Andrews, healer Adele was applying an ointment on Andrew's forehead. The pungent smell of the ointment overwhelmed Gaia's sensors in her nose to make her frown. Yet, she controlled herself from complaining about the smell. Young master, have you? The old butler's voice trailed, but when he saw Michael nod his head, Samuel's face brightened up. I'm going to use an ancient method here, so I'd appreciate it if you all kept this as a secret, except for healer Adele, who creased her brown bushy brows. Everyone in the room nodded in agreement. He noticed healer Adele's expression but didn't give a shit because he just said that to make what he was about to do more dramatic. Don't panic, I need to take some blood from his body. Natalia nodded as he said, staring directly at her. Elia, dagger. Gaia retrieved the silver dagger from inside her winter coat and handed it over to him. Michael then made a small cut in Andrew's right palm before placing an empty vial to collect the blood. They saw him add a few other herbs into the vial with the blood and conjure the green alchemy flames. The blood and the herbs he added started to change color under the heat provided by the flames. Soon, the blood red transformed into a pale golden color. When thrown into the air, this potion will lead us to the nearest source that contains the poison in his body. If I can get my hands on the poison's purest form, I can use it to brew the antidote. And then, the Phoenix potion will cure him of the starpox as it should. As they were staring at his potion, he waved the vial as the potion inside splashed into the air. However, the gravity couldn't get the potion to hit the ground, but the pale golden liquid floated in the air before slowly forming a trail from the room towards outside. The trail soon began to sparkle in the air like millions of tiny fireflies, leading them towards something. They were all stunned by the sight. Even healer Adele's mouth slightly opened in surprise. She had never heard of such a method nor a potion, but she knew the world is full of mysteries and new things. Therefore, she stood up from the bed, following the light trail behind Michael and the ladies. The trail is glowing brighter than I expected, Michael said, rubbing his chin. What does it mean? Imelda asked. It means the source is closer. They followed the light trail through the corridors to the front lawn. The guards who saw the sudden change in the air were tensed up, but Diana waved her hands nonchalantly, gesturing to calm down. Soon afterward, Sabrina joined the group to follow the light trail as she asked about the light trail from Adele. Jacob's room was located on the far end of the first floor. To reach his room, one had to go through the hall passing several rooms. All of them expected the light trail to go through the door leading them outside, but surprisingly, the light trail took a turn going towards the elders' rooms. What's happening? Imelda asked in surprise. Though the others didn't utter a word, Gaia could see the shock in their faces. Fortunately, when Gaia went to Jacob's room in her snake form, there weren't many guards inside the house to notice a snake. She also had to thank the man or the woman who decorated the house with countless tables, flower vases, and sofas that provided her with the much-needed cover to finish her task without getting detected. Why is the light trail going into Jacob's room? Everyone was thinking about it, but it was Sabrina who spoke her mind. This was a question that only Michael, Gaia, and Nightmare knew the answer for because Michael planned it in the first place. Weird, Michael pretended to be surprised. If my guess is correct, the poison source is close. Look at the brightness of the light trail. I guess the source is inside the house. Gaia folded her arms against her chest confidently. Diana and Imelda's faces lost their colors. They were bewildered about the light trail. Michael followed the light trail until he reached Jacob's door. Standing in front of the door, Michael could sense the fluctuations of arch energy in the surroundings, indicating Jacob has been cultivating. Lady Diana, Michael said, taking a step back from the door. Jacob, Diana knocked on the door, calling his name. Jacob opened the door. Coming, after a few more knocks on the door, they heard Jacob's annoyed voice. When Jacob opened the door, his annoyed expression quickly turned into a somewhat surprised expression. Jacob took a brief moment to stare at everyone standing outside his door and noticed the light trail leading up to the middle of his room. Auntie, what's going on here? Jacob frowned. Ghost, Diana called out to Michael. She had no idea how the poison in Andrew's body could be found in Jacob's room. It's here, Lady Diana. Unless you have another way of saving Andrews, we can't turn back without searching this room. What? Search my room? Jacob was already annoyed at Ghost for hindering his plans, and when he heard that he wanted to search the room, Jacob snapped. However, Jacob could only raise his voice while making a fist because Jacob knew as a body-strengthening level 3 warrior, he had no chance of winning against a core formation warrior like Ghost. Since Ghost had already saved Sabrina and Diana, Jacob knew that the Winstons would definitely protect him even if his father wanted to take any action against Ghost. Step aside, Jacob. Sabrina pushed Jacob away before entering the room. I hope you know what you're doing, Ghost, Sabrina said. Chapter 195. What is this light and why are you searching my room? Jacob tried to stop them, but Sabrina had already shoved him aside and entered the room. Following Sabrina, Michael, Gaia, and everyone standing outside the door entered Jacob's room, ignoring his angry shouts. Sabrina followed the light trail in Jacob's room to a small 2 feet tall mahogany cupboard beside his bed. Auntie, are you going to tell me what's going on here? Jacob scowled at Diana. It depends on what we find here, Jacob, Diana replied flatly. Since Jacob was little, Diana knew he was always the problem child in the family. He would always get into trouble as his father had to bail him out every time. His behavior worsened for the last few months for some unknown reason. Last month he almost killed a strumpet by beating her to death. If not for Noah saving the poor girl and healing her in time, she would have died. Diana could recall dozens of incidents like this in just a few seconds. Although she didn't want to believe it, it wouldn't be a surprise if Jacob had something to do with the poison. If he did something to do with poisoning Andrews, Diana would personally send him into the dungeon before trying him at a family trial. Humph, go ahead. Search all you want, Jacob snickered before folding his arms in anger. The light trail ends near that cupboard. Michael pointed at the small cupboard to Sabrina. Still, There was no change on Jacob's face as he knew they wouldn't find anything in his room that would incriminate him. Sabrina opened the drawer, searching through the contents such as potions, combs, scrolls, and usual stuff that a cultivator would have. She almost closed the drawer before she noticed a glimmer of light coming from under all this stuff. She rummaged through the items to find the light coming from a letter that had no writings on the outside. Jacob was so busy staring at Ghost, he failed to notice the veins under Sabrina's face popping out. Her eyes instantly turned red as one could hear the sound of her gritting teeth. Shock and disbelief occupied her face. "What is it, Sabi?" Imelda asked after sensing the killing intent radiating from Sabrina's body. The killing intent was so intense that it instantly drew Jacob's attention towards her. He noticed Sabrina standing near the cupboard like she was nailed to the ground, slightly trembling. "Jacob, everything is in place to kill that bitch Sabrina. ID make sure it looks like a bandit attack." Sabrina began to read the letter out loud. Her words stunned everyone, including Jacob. "After killing Sabrina, Alden ordered me to bring an assassin into your home to kill Diana. I'll tell you the details when we meet next. Also, keep the poison you used to poison Andrew safe. We might need it to kill Noah." Nightmare expected someone to interrupt or ask something, but all they did was stand there speechlessly. He almost rolled his eyes when he noticed Gaia pretending to be thoroughly shocked. He had to give it to the snake for her acting skills. "Victory shall be ours, Giles." What is that?" Jacob's body began to shiver after Sabrina finished reading the letter. He had zero clues about how or when a letter like this reached his room. "I don't know anything about that letter." "It's not true," Jacob shouted. Even the eyes of Samuel contained a tinge of killing intent hidden within. "So that's why you want me gone, huh?" Michael asked to fan the flames of Sabrina's anger, so she would start attacking him. Just like he planned, she lunged at him, conjuring arch energy around her fist. Although she was just a body refining stage cultivator, she was extremely quick as Jacob didn't have time to react before she punched him in the chest as hard as she could. If the letter had anyone's name except Jacob's, she would have at least doubted the words on the letter, but when it comes to Jacob, she completely believed the letter. Her anger overwhelmed her brain as she almost forgot about guileless betrayal. Since Jacob did not conjure arch energy in time to protect himself, the force of the punch broke a few ribs and sent him flying onto the wall behind him. "Ask him where the poison is before you vent your anger on him," Michael reminded Sabrina. "Sabi! Jacob, you little bastard." Even Imelda, the kind-looking lady, lost her composure when it came to Jacob. It was really funny to Michael how they all completely believed the letter he fabricated. Yet, if Jacob wanted to blame someone, he had to blame himself for being an asshole. Lady Diana. Soon, the commotion brought the guards patrolling around the house. They saw their young miss drawing her sword as Jacob growling on the ground. "I know nothing about that letter." Jacob wanted to tear Sabrina into pieces, but he knew attacking her only made him look guiltier. Plus, the guards would rather attack him with Sabrina than protect him because he has a history of abusing the guards. "Give me your space ring," Sabrina spoke with powerful killing intent. If Jacob truly had nothing to hide, he would have given the space ring to her, except he really had a vial of basilisk venom that he used on Andrew in his space ring as well as the needle ring on his left hand. "No. This is atrocious. I have nothing to do with anything that letter mentioned. The young master has nothing to worry about. Give your space ring to young miss and clear your name," Samuel said, waving his hand at the guards to stay put. Paralyzing wave. Suddenly, a wave of amethyst-colored wind hit Jacob. When the wave hit Jacob, his entire body froze as they all turned to see Natalia standing beside Diana with her hands reaching out at Jacob. "Take his space ring." Natalia's usual soft, gentle voice now sounded full of rage. Her golden hair fluttered in the cold wind, making her look domineering and powerful. Everyone who saw her like this was stunned. Among the three ladies, Natalia was the calmest and kind soul. They had never seen her angry until now. Sabrina swiftly took the space ring from Jacob's finger while he frantically rolled his eyes. He could not move a muscle in his body. Michael expected Sabrina to ask his help for breaking the seal on the space ring, but she surprised him when she broke the seal using a spell. The next moment, a bunch of scrolls, ale bottles, swords, potions, and gold coins appeared on the ground. All of them were inside his space ring a moment ago. Michael looked at all the items on the ground before his gaze landed on a dark purple vial among the potions. What do we have here? Michael made his way to the vial and picked it up. Is that basilisk venom? Healer Adele quickly recognized the venom. A few gasps sounded from the guards. Most of them obviously heard about basilisk. The mere thought of the monster sent a chill running through their spines. Yes, this is the venom used to poison Andrews. After pretending to be studying the venom, Michael exclaimed. Explain why you have this poison in your space ring, Jacob, Diana asked, gently pushing Natalia's hands down to release Jacob from the spell. I. So it's true, you were plotting to kill me and my mom. Wait. But Jacob's cry had no effect on Sabrina as she charged at him again, curling up her fist. She punched him in the face. Did you hear that? Yes, young Master Jacob was trying to murder Lady Diana and young Miss Sabrina. Young Master Noah and young Miss Rowena is going to shred him to pieces. It was fortunate that we had ghosts to save Lady Diana in time. The guards began to chatter among themselves. The guards didn't know what was written on the letter, and those who knew didn't utter a word. They wanted to capture and interrogate Giles without alerting him. Samuel still couldn't completely believe that Captain Giles was plotting with Jacob to harm the Winstons. However, Samuel was old enough to know that people are full of surprises. Enough! Just when Sabrina was about to punch him again, Jacob released a burst of arch energy to push her away. The violent burst of arch energy knocked everything in the room, such as books, lanterns, and flower vases. The items on the ground were blasted away in many directions. The burst momentarily broke the effects of the spell cast by Natalia. How dare you all treat me like this? Jacob barked like a mad dog. His neatly combed hair now a mess. Bloodstains on his teeth made him look even worse. And you? Jacob's gaze turned towards Michael. Everything went wrong after you came here. You're manipulating them, spouting lies about Andrew. Really, Jacob? Michael just calmly smiled. After all we've seen, you're trying to blame me? He then looked at Sabrina. You should deal with him before he forced my hand. For dash, wind blast. Jacob snapped and tried to cast a spell, but when he opened his mouth to cast the spell, a wave of wind from Michael's hand blasted him onto the wall again. The force of the wind was so powerful that a web of cracks formed in the wall when Jacob's body collided with the wall. Ding! Congratulations to the host for successfully being a badass. The reward is 200 badass points. Ding! Congratulations to the host for successfully being a badass. The reward is 600 badass points. Continued bell sounds rang in his head after he blasted Jacob. Wind Blast was simple and quick to cast spell. Although the Wind Blast was still at level 2, his current cultivation level significantly did not affect boosted all of his spell's power. Jacob hit the ground with a thud sound, but he didn't move after falling down. The Wind Blast knocked him out. Sabrina gave a short nod of approval at Michael. Michael only got 3,000 badass points since Michael did not use any fancy spells such as Ring of Fire or Ignitia. Yet Michael was glad that he almost earned 15k badass points ever since he came to Pentown. He wanted to do the first thing after earning a couple of more thousand badass points and settle his debt of badass points. Meet me at the training hall, Sabrina ordered Samuel. Amid this chaos, she didn't forget about Giles. She wanted to interrogate Jacob more before taking any actions against Giles. Chapter 196, The Cure Worked, Natalia. He'll be fine, Healer Adele gently brushed Natalia's head. The three ladies had seated themselves on Andrew's bed, surrounding him. It took Michael 10 minutes to brew the basilisk venom antidote as well as the phoenix potion. He intentionally brewed the potion in front of the guards and maids to amass more badass points. As he expected, his plan worked too well as he earned a whooping 10k points by impressing the crowd. He now had 22,000 badass points. With interest, he had to pay 13,000 badass points to the system. Give these to him when he wakes up. Michael placed a healing potion on the small cupboard beside the bed. Excuse me, He then gave a short nod at everyone in the room before leaving Andrew's room. They all showed Michael a smile filled with gratitude. He knew they would soon come to thank him one by one, but for now, he gave them the privacy they needed. He left Andrew's room with Gaia and Nightmare. After reaching the room given to him, Michael jumped on his bed with Gaia. She placed her head on Michael's chest as Nightmare cuddled between them. "Are you still mad at me?" Nightmare asked in a meek voice. For a moment, he sounded like a scared cat rather than a scary dragon. Looking at the pet dragon giving him puppy eyes, he smoothed the dragon's warm body. Nightmare uncurled himself and stood on Michael's chest on 4 legs, staring at Michael. "But I just wanted to help that human girl. Just like you helped me in the Nether realm. This time, your choice to help her didn't have a dire consequence. What if Alden still had a powerful family behind him? What if Sabrina really deserved to get killed? What if Alden didn't deserve to get killed? What if Alden was stronger than us? What if Alden escaped and decided to kill everyone at the sect as an act of revenge?" Michael continued to raise questions, slowly making Nightmare realize what could have happened because of his actions. Helping others isn't a problem, but helping without knowing everything is. If I only want to increase my own power, I could easily roam around this world, helping people, killing bad guys, and being a goody two-shoes. But I don't want that. I want to build a government that rules everything under my leadership. That's why I take every step carefully, thinking about every possible outcome, Michael explained. Aside from the prophecy of him being the Dark Lord, Michael really wanted to control this world because of the novels he had read in his previous life and his life experience. The main characters in those novels would triumph over everything to become the peak existence, but if they turned back and look at their life path, they would have nothing but a harem of beauties, if they didn't die somehow. If he acted like those main characters, he could have a fun-filled life with the system. Yet he knew the world would eventually forget about him and move on unless he often showed them who's the boss. What's the best way to do that than ruling them? A god is only a god until he has worshippers, right? If Michael didn't rule this world, he would just be a character in the history books. Besides, organizations like the Great Clans would eventually become strong enough to challenge him, and if he was alone, his fun-filled life would definitely come to an end unless Michael built his own Great Clan, powerful enough to face all the others while uprooting his enemies on his behalf. He would be a god forever. "You helped me without even knowing my name." Gaia rolled on his chest to take her eyes away from the ceiling to him. "That was need not help." "What do you mean?" She raised her brows. Clearly, it was not the answer she was hoping for. "I just came to this world knowing basically nothing. Hence I needed someone to tell me everything I wanted to know. You were a crippled girl and looked kinda okay too, so I rescued you." Her eyes twitched like she was controlling her urge to punch him in the face. "What do you mean kinda okay?" "My mistake, you're not kinda okay. You're fugly." "What's fugly?" Nightmare asked while she was clenching her fist. "Fucking ugly, bastard." She started to headbutt his chest furiously as Michael and Nightmare laughed out loud. Soon he grabbed her by her hands, stopping her from wiggle. Their eyes locked in, entering a staring contest. Little by little, Gaia's anger dissipated as she began to breathe heavily. He moved closer and closer until she could feel his warm breath on her face. "You're the prettiest girl in my heart." Nightmare immediately closed his eyes with his wings when Michael locked his lips with hers. The tender kiss made him almost forget about the existence of Nightmare near them. Until they tie the knot, Gaia didn't want to have sex with him, and Michael respected her decision. Although he had the prettiest girl lying beside him on a warm bed on a cold night like this, the only thing he could get was a tender kiss. Michael savored every second of the kiss. Lesson learned, Nightmare wiggled himself in between them, breaking the kiss with his little body. "Good." Michael moved his head away from Gaia's. He then licked his lips. A wry smile was plastered on his face. "Let's see what's happening around." A tablet-sized mirror appeared in Michael's hand from his space ring. A bright light flickered inside the mirror a few times before it showed the Winston family hall. They saw a few guards standing in the corners and a group of guards patrolling. Nothing caught Michael's interest until the mirror showed 3 guards standing around a campfire at the garden outside. My cousin Lamar just came back from Flame Fair and you're not going to believe what I heard from him. Nightmare hopped on Michael's shoulder to get a good view of the mirror. He said the whole town is under lockdown. He said that he had to pay his way out. No surprise there, Flame Fair and Ice Fair always get the worst of the winter, the guard replied in a thick accent while warming his hands above the fire. It was not the winter that made those Flame Fairers piss their pants, Trent. Someone is killing the wealthy cultivators in their own home and Duke Avon put the entire Flame Fair in lockdown. Good lord, do you think it's Lucifer? The guard's voice stuttered in fear. The mere mention of the name Lucifer made his legs turn into jelly. I don't know, but he said the Guardians were swarming the place, so it's possible. Then Lucifer should kill that bastard Avon and end this fucking war, the third guard replied. That's not all. A few days ago, someone killed a few soldiers of Duke Avon at the slave mines. Slave mines? The guard with a thick accent asked. Who knows? Did they catch the one who attacked? Lamar said he heard the one who attacked used a teleportation scroll to escape. I guess it must be some rich brat who loves the thrill, so she used the teleportation scroll, Michael said. Bugging Noah's home had already started to pay off. He never expected to find out what happened at Flame Fair without even going or sending someone to Flame Fair. It seems the Guardians left the royal land to come to Flame Fair or we have another copycat. Either way, I have to go to Flame Fair. You mean we have to go to Flame Fair, right? Michael shook his head. No, you go to Abyssal and make sure Arya put her heart into serving us. But she was about to protest when Michael put his finger on her lips. No buts. We can't be at two places at the same time. You go to Abyssal and I go to the Flame Fair. What about the auction at Ice Fair? Nightmare asked. Well, leave tomorrow morning and if you can, you meet us at the auction. All right, Gaia sighed. Where is that Diana lady? We cannot leave without getting those free permits. Speaking of Diana, is it me or that humans seem to be treating Ghosty differently? Nightmare asked them. Gaia nodded at Nightmare as she noticed the way Diana acted too. She does look like a textbook mother, but yeah, I did notice how she treated a total stranger like her own son. I mean, you did save her and her daughter, but still, she was way too much caring. What if she was way too caring? There are many good people in this world and she is one of them. I just hope Noah doesn't get in my way. I'd really hate to make her cry. The way I see it, that guy is really pushing his luck. One day, he's gonna get himself killed for pissing off the powerful people in Elon. Gaia dismissed Michael's thought of killing Noah with a wave. Just as they were speaking and cuddling each other on the bed, someone knocked on the door. Coming, just by the gentleness of the knock, he could tell it's either one of the three ladies who knocked on the door. When he opened the door, he was proven right as Diana stood outside. Chapter 197, Lady Diana, is everything all right? Everything's perfectly fine, thanks to you, she said, but Michael could tell there's something else she wants to talk to him about. Come on, let's go for a walk. This has been a long day. Michael nodded as Diana waved her hands at Gaia and Nightmare to follow her. Soon, they walked through the corridors, hall and reached the garden outside. A transparent energy dome around the garden prevented the garden from completely blanketed by snow. The sky was vacant of any stars as a winter sky should be. Occasional glimmering stones lighted the garden as various color flowers danced in the wind. Especially a line of 5-petal flowers that drew their attention with its navy blue color. Michael walked behind Diana, brushing his hand through the flowers. Lady Diana, it's not safe for you here. Why don't we go inside? Although he sensed no hostile activity nearby, he didn't want to stay outside because Giles was still alive and he could easily plot another plan to assassinate Diana. If the assassin was at the core formation level, either he or Gaia could prevail, otherwise, they would be in real trouble. It's fine, I feel just as safe with you as with my children, I guess, thanks. Michael scratched the back of his head with a doubtful smile. Diana was in front of him, so she never saw his expression. No, it's us who must thank you for all you've done for me and my family. Diana halted her steps, turning back to look him in the eyes. Thank you. She took Michael's hand and clenched it tightly. I don't know how I would have faced Natalia if I let anything happen to Andrews. Glistening tears rolled out of her beautiful eyes. He desperately wanted to wipe those tears off her face. This was a new kind of feeling for him. Happy to help, Lady Diana. Standing a few meters away from Diana and Michael, Gaia slightly raised her brows. She was with him for almost a year now, but this was the first time she saw him vulnerable like this. Even when he was with her, he would never seem vulnerable, but when he was with Diana, he acted differently. Both of them stood under the drizzling of snowflakes. No words were coming out of their words, but silence enveloped them. Michael felt a calmness he never experienced before. Gaia coughed to break the silence. Finally, Diana let go of his hands and stepped back. Sweetie, you never told me where your parents are? They must be proud to have a son like you. I would have known if they stuck around to raise me. Michael just smiled, but both Gaia and Diana could sense the pain behind his smile. I am sorry, Diana stuttered. Don't be, Lady Diana. He quickly hid the pain and anger from showing on his face. Even if we know you for few days, you're family to me, sweetie. He did not know what to tell as he just stayed silent for a few moments. Tomorrow, you'll get to meet the whole gang. Diana clenched her hands together against her chest in joy. A blast of happiness flashed across her face. About that, Lady Diana. I have to leave as early as possible tomorrow morning. The smile on Diana's face froze. Why? I must leave as soon as possible, Lady Diana, trust me. I hope you understand my situation. After seeing the resolve in his eyes, Diana could only sigh. At least wait until Natalia comes out of Andrew's room. She would want to speak with you, and I haven't even got you something to thank you for what you've done. You can thank us by giving us free permits, Gaia hurriedly shouted at Diana. Free permits? Forgive my girlfriend's enthusiasm. It just we are planning to expand our businesses and she thinks Pentown will be a perfect place. Done. Just wait here for a few moments. When the sky became brighter, Michael wrote a letter that had a few parting words for Diana. He then placed it on the table before leaving the room through the opened windows with Gaia and Nightmare. He soared up into the skies, his shadow gradually vanishing into the distance. A few hours after Michael left the room, Diana opened the door to see the empty room. Seeing the room empty, her eyes revealed a perplexed look as if she couldn't bear to watch him go. At the same time, tears trickled out of her eyes. She then saw the letter which Michael had left behind. This caused her to freeze for a second before she approached the table and picked up the letter. She sat on his bed as she gazed at the words written by him. Lady Diana, I'm not very good with goodbyes and this is the best I could do. If fate permits, we'll meet again soon, she muttered repeatedly. After a long time, her expression fell as she whispered to herself, Forgive me. She then placed the letter down as she crawled into his bed. Within the covers, there was still some warmth left behind by him. Diana laid down on the pillow and pressed her face deep into the pillow. While Diana was sobbing on Michael's bed, Imelda entered the room. She was stunned by the empty room and her sister crying. Diana, what happened? Why are you crying and where are they? Imelda asked, walking to the bed to console her sister. When Imelda seated herself on the bed, Diana crawled to her and placed her head on Imelda's lap. Did he leave without even telling us? He told me yesterday night. I just wanted to say goodbye to him. They must have had some important thing to take care of, Diana, but why are you crying like this? Imelda too noticed the way she treated Michael. She didn't want to question her sister when Michael was around, and since he's gone, she was able to ask Diana. Because Ghost is my son, Imelda. She burst into crying more after speaking these words. The grief, regret, and pain overwhelmed Diana's heart. Diana, he's not your son. You know he can't be. Amela's heart began to beat faster and faster. She could still remember that night vividly every time she closed her eyes. She wanted to forget about everything that happened that night, but until now, she was unable to. No. He is my son, the wishing stone. It worked. Diana stood up, wiping off the tears from her face. She then flicked her wrist as a multicolored gem appeared in her hand. It flickered a few times before losing its shine. This is the stone Noah gave you. Imelda was speechless. She was stunned when Noah gifted the stone to Diana on her birthday. It said that a wishing stone could grant its holder's wishes if he or she wished from their heart and their wish wasn't about hurting others. Noah also said that there's only a couple of wishing stones existing in this world. I wished to see my Dean, and the very next day I met Ghost. Ghost is Dean, Imelda. Stop it, Diana. Imelda shouted as Diana's face froze in shock. That baby couldn't have survived. It's dead. You have only one son and you to accept that? No. Diana stomped her feet as the entire room trembled. Imelda was pushed back several feet by the arch-energy exploded from Diana's body. 20 years ago, I made a mistake. I shouldn't have trusted that oracle. A mother knows her children, Imelda. He is my son. It had been 20 years since Imelda saw her sister like this. If she didn't stop cultivating 20 years ago to punish herself, she would have been half immortal by now. 2 decades ago, she was a warrior feared by many kingdoms in the Azer continent. Imelda's body shivered under the overwhelming aura radiating from Diana. However, Imelda had to overcome this fear and calm her sister down. Even if he is your son, do you think he'll be happy to meet us, the ones who left him to die on a sacrificial stage in the middle of a forest? The overwhelming powerful aura slowly dissipated from Diana's body. You know what would the Sky Hall do to him if they knew the baby survived and grew into a youngster? They will kill him. Diana's legs gave up as she dropped to the ground. She felt just as helpless as she felt 20 years ago. Even an animal would fight to save its child, but she left her 2-day-old baby to die. Ever since that night, Diana couldn't stop hearing the baby's cries. If it wasn't for her family, she would have already taken her own life. Diana cried out loud. Don't speak about this with anyone, Diana. If by any chance he's your son, he is. Diana sobbed as Imelda sighed, wrapping her hands around Diana to console her. He can't be the son you want him to be. He'd be killed along with everyone he knew in this world. Don't do that to him. So, you want me to pretend like my son doesn't exist? Rowena and Noah can protect him. We can protect him from the Sky Hall. Imelda shook her head. If we tell them about Ghost, Rowena will throw away her holy maiden position and Noah will fight for his twin brother, but they can't win against the Sky Hall, Diana. Even if Noah brought the entire Guardian Guild with him, Sky Hall will destroy them. You know this better than anyone. Diana had no response as she knew the truth in Imelda's words. She could only cry. That was all she could right now. I know how hard this is for you, Diana, but Dean can't be with us unless he could become strong enough to destroy the Sky Hall. Chapter 198. In a multitude of precious metal hues, snow clouds, silver and black, adorned the sky as if they longed to kiss the land. Under the snow clouds and rain of snowflakes, Michael was flying towards Flamefair without a clue about what just happened back in his room. If he had enough spiders, he would have placed them in every room, including in the room he stayed in. Therefore, he prioritized the hall, Noah's room, and a few others and did not place one in his room. If he had done that, he would have realized that Diana is his mother. More correctly, a brass mother. Even before coming to this world, he had been the reason for the separation between Diana and her son. How far is this Flamefair? Nightmare asked, standing on his shoulder. I think we'll reach the Flamefair town in a few hours. The smokiness of the winter prevented him from clearly seeing the villages beneath him on the land. He could barely see structures of buildings and dim lights produced by the torches in those buildings. The guard was right. The winter is harsher here than in Breedia or Penn Town. So what should we do when we find this copycat? Kill him, Michael simply shrugged. We have 3 days until the auction, which means we have 3 days to find this copycat. What if it's like Gaia said? What if this copycat is a Guardian's doing? If the system was on safe mode before, he may have chosen to intrude. Since it was not the case, Michael would definitely kill the one pretending to be him, even if that one was a Guardian. Then we'll kill them too. Michael and Nightmare continued to fly towards the north according to the map. Soon, towering man-made structures and a gigantic city wall vaguely appeared in the distance. I can sense some powerful presence on the city wall, Ghosty, Nightmare informed Michael. Although Michael could not see or sense any presence, he knew Nightmare saw the world and the energy around the world differently than any other species in this world. Considering many cities he had been in had no flying inside the city walls rule, he descended to the ground to enter the city through the main gate. Soon, as he was expecting, a group of soldiers approached him. Another Nightcrawler hunter, I presume. The person who was leading the guard patrol was a woman. She stood at least 7 feet tall with the structure of a professional bodybuilder. Her bulky structure seemed bulkier with the jade green armor that was covering her from her head to toe. Regardless of her monstrous height and figure, Michael stayed calm, except his heart skipped a beat when he saw the golden G etched onto her chest plate. A guardian. Michael's mind quickly recognized the symbol. It was the same symbol he saw on Peyton and Zenalis' robes. He quickly willed himself to sense her cultivation level. She was just a few months of cultivation away from reaching the core strengthening stage. Coupled with her physique strength and the power of her armor, he knew it would be difficult to defeat her in a one-on-one battle unless he fought her as Lucifer. Look guys, he came to hunt the Nightcrawler with a fucking dragon, the woman laughed, pointing her gigantic hand at Nightmare. The soldiers in ironclad armor behind her let out an awkward smile mixed with shock and surprise. The appearance of a guardian and what he heard from the guards at Noah's home helped Michael get a good idea about what she was talking about. Just when Michael was about to ask her a question about hunting Nightcrawler, her smile disappeared from her face and was replaced by a stern look. I know who you are. Humph, you must be the guy who's calling himself Ghost, she snickered. Nightmare bore his sharp razor teeth because of the way she ridiculed Michael. Do I know you? The usual calm smile on Michael's face was non-existent when he asked the woman. Rejecting Peyton's offer to join them as one of their lackeys certainly made an impression about him on the Guardians, and Michael knew it. Pay 2,000 gold to enter the city and hunt Nightcrawler. The city is off-limits otherwise, the woman spoke, turning her back to Michael. So be it. Michael knew there's no point in arguing with this woman as he threw a pouch containing the gold to one of the guards. The woman had already stepped through the city gates and disappeared from Michael's eyes. Young Master Ghost, you're clear to go in. Unlike the Guardian, the guards seemed to speak to Michael with the utmost respect. They barely looked at Michael and Nightmare in their eyes. It might be respect or fear, but Michael didn't care which. He just nodded with a smile before walking into the city through the main gate. The city of Flamefair was built in the shadow of an enormous mountain and was truly a leading-edge wonder. Its uniqueness was matched by the backdrop of a majestic mountain that has helped shape the city into today's city. The skyline was scattered with distinct skyscrapers, and they had been designed to adorn the city and each other. When Michael took his first step into the city, he saw the usual buildings such as smithies, bakeries, lines of houses, and clothing stores as he would have in any other city. However, what made Flamefair distinct in his eyes was how barren and empty the streets were. Even if this was the winter season, he knew a large city like this shouldn't be this empty and lifeless. He saw 0 people on the streets except for patrolling soldiers. Is that a dragon? Who is he? That's one majestic creature. He's making himself the target of the Nightcrawler. Bad move, he heard the patrolling guards murmuring, while just a sight of Nightmare standing on Michael's shoulder was enough to impress the guards and increase his badass points. Where to? Nightmare asked as Michael began to walk through the snow-covered main street. The first place you should go to if you want to gather information, a tavern. It took him a couple of minutes walking before arriving in front of a 2-story building made of gray stones and red bricks. A beautifully calligraphed board that had a drawing of an old plump woman with a mug was hanging above the door. Old Martha. Nightmare read the board as they entered the tavern through the old, metal door. He was welcomed by whispers and aromas of what's probably food, hopefully. The bartender on the other end of the tavern was cleaning the mugs, and when he saw Michael, he quickly smiled at him, but his smile quickly froze on his face looking at Nightmare. It was as dull inside as the streets outside. Hard wooden beams supported the upper floor and the rows of small, molten candles attached to them. The walls were decorated with mounted animal heads and small animals. The tavern itself was almost completely abandoned. On the walls of the tavern, Michael saw a wanted poster. Dark, curly hair clumsily hung over a skinny, frowning face. The man on the poster wore a monocle that gave rather an evil vibe. Nightcrawler. Nightmare read the name while Michael grabbed the poster from the wall. 100,000 gold coins for whoever brings the Nightcrawler to Duke's Palace, dead or alive. That's a huge bounty. Michael placed the bounty poster in his system storage before walking to the bar counter. Young Master, we don't allow dash. I'm sure you'll make an exception, the bartender stuttered, staring at Nightmare. Before the bartender could finish his sentence, Michael slid a small pouch of gold count to the bartender to shut his mouth. There were more than enough coins for the bartender to make an exception to his no pets allowed rule. Since that was the case, the bartender forced a smile out. He was still freaked out about the dragons staring at him. Ding! Congratulations to the host for successfully being a badass. The reward is 400 badass points. Ding! Congratulations to the host for successfully being a badass. The reward is 300 badass points. Just walking into the tavern with Nightmare granted Michael badass points as he always expected because having a dragon as a pet was definitely badass. Why so serious? Let's light up this place. Michael turned to look at the few people in the tavern. Drinks are on me, Ghost of River Town. Michael hoped they could identify him with his name, and when he saw the people slightly drop their jaws, he knew they recognized him. Ding! Congratulations to the host for successfully being a badass. The reward is 400 badass points. Yeah. Oh my god, it's really him. The 5-star alchemist of Breedia? Heck yeah. Some cheered thinking about free booze while some were stunned to see a renowned figure like him at the same tavern where they are. A few daring adventurers quickly came to Michael's side and seated themselves beside Michael. Keep the ale flowing, bartender. What was a better way to loosen their tongues than buying them free drinks? It would make them drunk, and drunk people tell no lies. Of course, young master. The bartender almost forgot about the terrifying dragon because he knew how much these people would drink if they don't have to pay for the drink. Thanks to Ghost, he could very well sell enough drinks to make up for the drought of a week he had previously because of the Nightcrawler. So what brings a famous guy like yourself to Flamefair, especially during a fucked up time like this? A middle-aged adventurer with a thick bushy beard asked Michael. Of course he came to hunt down Nightcrawler, old man, a young adventurer shouted at the middle-aged man. What can you guys tell me about this Nightcrawler? Chapter 199. Not much except he started killing 2 weeks ago. Until the Guardians decided to warn the people, the Duke kept Nightcrawler's existence a secret, one of the adventurers said, taking occasional sips of ale. Of course, he kept it a secret. The Duke of Pentown has been kicking his ass since the beginning of this war. He didn't want to demoralize the soldiers further by telling them about Nightcrawler. How would you feel if you're fighting a war far away while someone might kill your family back at home? I would desert, a few of the adventurers shouted, raising their mugs together. Are the Guardians anywhere near catching this Nightcrawler? They've been investigating. The bushy-beard middle-aged man air quotes the words showing his disappointment with the Guardians. Who knows? It might be the Guardians who were doing the killing, as Lucifer said. What the fuck are you talking about? Everyone turned their gazes at the young man who just spoke. Don't tell me none of you went to Royal Land recently, the young man asked before slamming his empty mug on the table. Refill, he shouted at the bartender. 2 weeks ago, I was at Royal Land, doing an escort job. And while we were passing the town square, we saw it. The youngster took a long sip. Saw what? A small army of Netherals. We all saw them carrying Minister Jerdy's body. The words Guardians stop pretending to be me, Lucifer was written on his body. The youngster finished his ale in one long gulp. Not only Michael but everyone in the tavern could tell that the youngster was pretty shaken up, recalling the sight of a small army of Netherals. It might be anyone trying to blame the Guardians. From the corner of the tavern, someone said. I never said what happened next. The youngster slammed the mug again. When the Guardians approached the body, Jerdy's body exploded and the blood formed the words, Lucifer is watching everyone in the sky. Only Michael knew it was not blood but fireworks he brought from the system. It was obvious this youngster exaggerated the last part, but exaggeration would be good for Lucifer's reputation. Now tell me what or who could control the mindless Netherals and write in the sky in blood? I'd say it's Lucifer. Of course it's Lucifer. I heard of Jerdy. He was a real son of a bitch, and I would say he got what he deserved. Lucifer, Nightcrawler, this world is really going towards a shit storm, a few adventurers sighed. What happened to the Netherals? What do you think? The holy guards smote them to hell. It's fucked up to even think the guardians pretended to be Lucifer and killed those nobles. Not for me, I always knew the guardians were up to no good. I'm glad that someone or something like Lucifer is going to keep them in like. If you ask me, I'd say let Lucifer hunt down all those fucking noble bastards. Most of them deserve worse than dead. Michael was slightly amused to see most of the adventurers in the tavern support Lucifer. If most people in the continent think like these adventurers, anyone Michael kills would be branded as a sinner by the people, which was exactly what Michael wants. What more can you tell about this Nightcrawler? Before the conversation completely turns towards Lucifer, Michael asked the question. Though the Guardians announced Nightcrawler's existence, they didn't share much except he kills people at night. Yeah, no shit. How many people did he kill? Michael asked. 6, I think. Nah, with Lucan a few days ago, it'd be 7. If you want to know more about him, you should go ask what's her name again. The bushy-beard adventurer rubbed his beard trying to recall the name. Nesta, she's the one leading the task of catching Nightcrawler. Yeah, Nesta, the bearded adventurer exclaimed. But be careful, I heard she has quite a temper. If I were you, I don't want to piss off that giant. Nesta, huh? Michael mumbled under his breath. If she was in charge of catching the Nightcrawler, Michael knew killing Nightcrawler as Lucifer would teach her a lesson. However, his first priority before starting the hunt was gathering more information about the Nightcrawler. After getting as much as information he could from them, Michael rented a room in the same tavern. Considering Michael multiplied his business by many folds, the bartender, also the owner of the tavern, was happy to give Michael his best room for free. Of course, Michael knew it was also a business tactic, as he could later double his prices, saying that the famous 5-star alchemist, Ghost of Rivertown, stayed at his tavern. System, bring up my status window. Lying on his bed, he ordered the system as the familiar window appeared before Michael's eyes. System version 3. 0 host, Michael cultivation level, core formation stage, level 3 experience points, 0/4000000 badass points. 8,500 skills and spells. Wind Blast, LVL2 responsive shield, LVL3 environment scanning, LVL2 ignitia, LVL2 lightning dash, LVL2 energy devour, LVL1 death range, LVL2 techniques. Swords of Destiny, 90% mastery ring of fire, 57% mastery occupation. Core disciple of Sunrise Sect, the guardian of Sunrise Sect, Lord Lucifer of the abyssal status. Healthy goals. Control the world, rebuild the Order of Death utility function. Banker, LVL3, ratio, 1,000 gold coins, 10 badass points, wealth, 2,170,000 gold special trait, 5-star alchemist, 3-star inventor subordinates. Gaia, warrior, loyalty level 100%. Raylene, 5-star chef, loyalty level 97%. Base of operation, Sunrise Sect, the abyssal. I need to upgrade my spells and banker function. Host should really consider taking a loan and upgrading the spells. The system sounded extremely greedy. Nah, for the time being, I don't want any more loans from you, Michael said as he remembered something about Nightmare. Hey system, now that you're online, can you make Nightmare a royal dragon? It would take 400,000 badass points to make a forest dragon a royal dragon. He was with the system long enough to tell the greedy system was hiding something. Spit it out. What? The host should get more badass points if you want to make your pet dragon a royal dragon? What the? Are you arguing with me now? I know you know a second method system. For a moment, Michael heard a sound like the system sighing. Or you can find a royal dragon and pay the system 50,000 badass points to start the ritual to transform Nightmare into a royal dragon. That seems reasonable. See, we can work it out, Michael chuckled. System, with my current inventor level, I cannot make the thermal camera. So, can you do something about it, like turning the camera I make into a thermal camera? The host can buy a thermal chip from the system store for 200 badass points. Excellent. Why does the host want a thermal camera anyways? This place is basically under lockdown. Anyone who ventures outside at night will be a suspect. If I want to find out what's going on without getting into a fight with Nesta, I have to send out a drone to first survey the area. Who knows? With a little bit of luck, I might find the Nightcrawler himself. Michael knew that if Nightcrawler was able to venture out at night without getting detected by the Guardians, he might have something interesting with him to cover his tracks. It was highly unlikely that even an assassin could kill a noble in his own room, especially after the city had been put under the surveillance of the Guardians. After what happened with Gertie, if the Guardians did pretend to be Lucifer as Gaia said, they wouldn't try to do the same thing again. Nightcrawler, what secrets do you have? Michael already plotted a plan to use Nightcrawler to his advantage. Hey, are you there? When Michael closed the system's interface, he heard Gaia's voice sounding in his head. What is it? Michael adjusted the earbud in his ear and asked Gaia. They really fucked up Arius Brothers, human. What do you mean really fucked up? Nightmare quickly placed his little head over Michael's ear to eavesdrop. The slave mine was not only used to mine iron, but it was also used for traffic organs and sick experiments on the slaves. You really need to get down here. I don't think they'll last long. I'll put some special healing potion into the interlinked space ring. Give it to her. It will keep them alive until I come. Got it? By the way, how's your hunt for the killer going? Still collecting information, but I'll finish it soon. What's Dickie doing? Michael noticed the smile on Nightmare's face. It was surprisingly beautiful, for a dragon. He's here, he said. Keep that lizard safe. Don't let him get into trouble while I'm away. Yes, Mother. Michael chuckled and he could hear Gaia giggling on the other end. After giving the healing potion to them, I'm going back to the sect to see how are things back there. Then I will put some instructions for Olivia to study in the ring. Give them to her. He already assigned the task of studying all the herbs and their characteristics in his herbal garden, and since he couldn't be with her all the time to guide her, Michael wrote a few pointers in a book for her to study. If she could become extremely loyal to him, he would make her the head of his alchemy business chain as he was planning. Will do. Just stay safe out there, she said in a gentle voice before cutting the call. Chapter 200. The next day, Michael woke up before everyone at the tavern. When he reached the downstairs where the bar was located, he saw the adventurers were still snoring. Some were lying on the ground while some were using the long oak tables as their bed. Young Master Ghost, the tavern owner, stopped sweeping the place and greeted Michael with a wide grin. The joy of yesterday's business lightened the tavern owner's face. Well, serve breakfast in an hour, young master. Nah, I have to be somewhere else. Well, meet again. Michael saluted with 2 fingers with a smile before leaving the tavern. He had to get all the things to build a drone and let it survey the city. If it wasn't for Arius Brothers' situation, he could have spent some time in Flame Fair before leaving to Ice Flare to attend the auction, except now he had to do everything in a rush. Recalling the directions given to him by the adventurers yesterday, Michael made his way to the Burning Star, a well-known store in Flame Fair run by Duke's concubine. Michael was informed that if he wants to buy whether a common item or a rare item, he should look in the Burning Star. The parts required to build a drone weren't rare but could be found in any auction houses or stores like the Burning Star. A drone was not the only thing in his mind. He wanted to make small projectors that would be used by him to telecast what he's going to do. That was going to be his quickie way to earn thousands of badass points as well as spread Lucifer's reputation. The streets were not very different from yesterday. The patrolling guards stared at him wearily, but they didn't stop him to investigate. He knew they might have been informed by Nesta to leave him alone, or they were sure that Michael can't be the Nightcrawler. The more he walked towards the center of the city, the richer and fancier the surroundings became. Lavish water fountains with frozen water, elegant buildings made of marble stones, and painted glass occupied his eyes. Besides the rich scenery, he saw few people who weren't soldiers in full plate armor on the streets. However, they all wore colorful masquerade masks to cover their faces. On top of the masks, the ladies wore feather hats while men wore long capes. What are they wearing? Nightmare questioned Michael. His little dragon eyes watched them curiously. Soon, the nobles caught the dragon checking them out and quickly began to murmur, pointing their fingers at Michael and the dragon standing on his shoulder. Oh, Calpurnia, look at him. Is that a dragon on his shoulder? It can't be. Who is he? The nobles were curious, yet they didn't choose to talk to Michael. The get-ups amused Michael, reminding him of the masquerade balls secretly hosted by the rich people on Earth. After walking on the main street and turning a few corners according to the adventurers, a majestic tall tower appeared in his sight. The tower was over 60 meters tall. Bright lights could be seen from every single level, and there was a large pavilion on the rooftop. It was an incredibly stylish building that resembled the shape of the Chrysler Building in New York. This single tower showed Michael the wealth of the Duke, as even in this world, maintaining such a majestic building like this would require hundreds of thousand gold coins. One day, I'll own a building like this, Michael said to himself as he walked towards the building, passing the guard patrols on the street. The Burning Star Tower looked different from close proximity. When standing near the front entrance and looking at the golden entrance, one could feel the aura of wealth and prosperity. The Burning Star was the biggest trade power in Flamefair. They ran many different kinds of trading businesses, including an alchemy store that was exclusive to certain customers. It was run by the people of Gabriel, the alchemy king of Elon. On top of this store, many were run and owned by the Duke and his concubine. The Flamefair was huge and cannot be compared with Bradford or any other 3 major cities in Breedia. If one stood on a mountain a few miles away, they would discover that Flamefair was a few hundred square miles of land with beautifully built buildings. The whole city was filled with a magnificent atmosphere, and even during a time of war like this, the city would still be illuminated with lights. They entered the brightly lit Burning Star Tower. When he opened the glass doors, he was welcomed by a warm wave of air. Nightmare could see the hidden arrays around the large spacious hall that were warming the air inside, so the customers would feel comfortable. The first floor was a trading space with small shops built within. These shops were not run by the Duke and his concubine. They were spots rented out, and the Duke would only collect rental payment from them. The floor might have looked grand, but nonetheless, it was rather empty except for a young woman standing behind a marble counter at the end of the hall. "My lord, you can't bring pets inside." The girl had beautiful curly golden hair with hazel eyes. At the moment, her hazel eyes were filled with a cocktail of emotions such as fear and shock. "Pet?" Growling, Nightmare growled, showing his razor-sharp teeth at the girl. "First, he's not a pet, and second, you should put a board outside." Despite the girl's reaction to Nightmare, Michael answered her calmly. His warm smile slightly calmed the girl. He knew she was just doing her job and there was no need to make this a big deal. "As you can see, he's a dragon, and I think a noble creature like him would behave himself, which cannot be said to most of the humans, my lord. But it's not a good move to make the ghost of River Town, the 5-star alchemist, wait because of some petty rule, Mia." A familiar voice resounded as Michael turned to see a gorgeous girl in a violet thick thigh-cut dress. Sadie Kaplan. It was none other than core disciple of Silver Moon and Michael's one-night stand, Sadie Kaplan. The last time he saw her was when the river town was attacked by Netherals. It was one of the best nights he ever had since he came to this world. Ding! Congratulations to the host for successfully being a badass. The reward is 3,000 badass points. Ding! Congratulations to the host for successfully being a badass. The reward is 500 badass points. You never fail to amaze me, ghost. Her voice contained a hint of shock. She tried to hide the shock behind her seductive smile. "I have 2 questions, ghost. How the hell are you cultivating? And where the fuck did you get a dragon?" She asked while slowly walking towards him like she was walking on a tramp at a fashion show. When she got closer, she leaned forward to lip-lock, but Michael avoided the kiss on the lips by giving a friendly hug. "Huh." Sadie creased her beautiful sharp brows. "I didn't expect to see you here," Michael said, pretending not to see her reaction. "Me neither, and you haven't answered my questions, ghost." "The answers are I'm awesome and got him from Nether Realm." He looked so arrogant when he answered her, but in Sade's eyes, he looked so hot too. "I need everything in this list. Can you get me these?" He retrieved a paper note, sliding it towards Mia, the girl behind the counter. After realizing the youngster in front of her was actually the famous ghost of River Town, Mia didn't open her mouth about the Burning Star's rules about bringing pets inside. They would often make exceptions to many rules for people such as him, so it was not new to her. "Of course, my lord." Taking the list, the girl ran to the room behind her to get the items while Sadie gestured at him to follow her to the sofa. Her eyes were curiously staring at Nightmare. "Can I?" Sade reached out to pet Nightmare after seating herself comfortably on the sofa. No, yet, Nightmare outrightly rejected her, moving from Michael's right shoulder to left. He's a dragon, Sadie. You cannot pet him, Michael calmly said as she pouted. It's still hard to believe you have a dragon and at the core formation stage, Ghost. You've reached core formation from body refining in what, 6 months? Give or take, what's your secret? Michael knew she was trying to get his cultivation method, but even if he did tell her, she wouldn't believe it. If you want to cultivate like me, you should try to venture into the treacherous ocean. I heard about your little trip and who you brought back, said Sadie. It wasn't a big surprise for Michael as he made sure the news of Christopher's return spread across Bredia and other kingdoms because having a soul refiner would make sure his base of operation stays safe from the rogue cultivators. His herbal garden was basically a small treasure trove that had the herbs that could be sold to a shitload of gold coins in trade centers. I guess, you're here to get new spells or weapons for the upcoming tournament. I really wish you went to Ice Flare instead of coming here. Those drunken bastards never mentioned anything about a tournament, which now really piqued his curiosity. A tournament was the best place for him to be badass and earn thousands of badass points. A tournament, huh? You do know about the upcoming Bredian Championship tournament, right? His silence told Sadie that he really doesn't know about one of the biggest tournaments in Elon. It's gonna start in just 3 months. How could you not know about one of the biggest tournaments in Elon? Please enlighten me. Chapter 201. Well, the tournament has 2 championships. One is to choose the champion of the younger generation, which mostly have body-strengthening disciples. The second championship is the main one. This is where the core disciples of the big sects compete. Considering you've reached the core formation stage and you're the core disciples, you won't be competing with the younger generation but with us. Michael grinned, recalling the events that happened at Heaven's Gate competition. At that time, Selena and her boyfriend Alex Fisher threatened him not to step on the 100th step, and ever since he came across Selena at the waterfall by mistake, she was looking to mess with him. This tournament looked like a good place to kick their asses and prove to everyone that he is the #1 in Elon. Just imagining how many badass points he could reap from this award made his blood boil in excitement. Why are you grinning? Sadie creased her brows, seeing the grin on his face. Core disciples, huh? I assume Selena and her boyfriend will be there. Michael did not stop the tinge of killing intent from emerging in his eyes. Yes, but you can't kill them. Killing is strictly forbidden in the tournament, and it's the referee's job to keep the competitors alive. They can try, he snickered inside. He was positive that he could come up with a plan to kill anyone he wants at the competition with the help of his alchemy talent and the help of the system. Is that so? Tell me more. However, he was not going to share his thoughts with Sadie. In the main championship, there will be 6 rounds. First round, second round, third round, semifinal 1, semifinal 2, and the grand final. What type of contest and battles in each round will be decided by the tournament committee depending on the number of disciples competing. Sadie continued to explain how the competition works. After taking mental notes, Michael asked, what about the first championship for the body strengthening stage disciples? It's pretty straightforward. First round will be a knockout round, the second will be one-on-one battle, and the winners will yet again battle in the final. We would know who takes the championship in a couple of days after the tournament begins. I know who's going to win it, Gaia, Michael thought. Making Gaia reveal her true cultivation level to compete in the second championship might cause some unwanted suspicion on her, but none would suspect her if he makes her look like a body-strengthening stage cultivator and compete in the first championship. He doubted the spell she was using to hide her cultivation level would be enough to fool the competition committee. Hence, he planned to ask the system to help Gaia hide her true cultivation level. If they both won the championship of their league, it would catapult the sect's reputation through the sky. Young Master, while they were talking about the tournament, Mia finally returned with a silver space ring in her hand. All the items in the list are here. The space ring is on the house. Michael took the space ring from her hand to see the items inside. One could see metal bolts, gears, various colors of stones, coils, and many other components inside his ring. If he gave this ring to someone else, they wouldn't be able to make anything, but thanks to his unique inventor trait, he could make hundreds of spiders and a few dozen drones. It'll be 8,000 gold coins, young Master Ghost. Only 8,000? Sadie was taken aback by surprise. She thought he's here to buy a weapon or potion recipe which would have definitely cost more than 20,000 gold coins, yet what he bought was only 8,000. The host should have brought all the items in the system store, as it would have been high-quality items and saved you the time you've wasted here. The system's annoyed voice sounded in his mind. I could have if your prices weren't so outrageous. I can't afford to spend the points on anything unnecessary for now. Michael entered the system to reply. Take a loan, host. Didn't I make myself clear before? I don't want any more loans. Hee. You will take a loan. He was stunned for a moment hearing the system's laugh. He could swear that the laughter seemed sinister. So you can now laugh, good to know. Why do you think I'm gonna take a loan? However, the system did not reply as it went silent, knowing that it wouldn't answer him no matter how many times he asks. He just exited the system and sighed in his heart. The space ring alone would cost 10,000, but yeah, I can see what's happening. It wasn't uncommon to see trade centers like the Burning Star give discounts or freebies like this to establish a good relationship with figures like Michael, a 5-star alchemist. Michael accepted their gesture with a happy smile before willing the system to place stacks of 8,300 gold coins on the ground. Keep the change, Mia. It was nice to see you again, Sadie. Michael turned his gaze away from Mia and looked at Sadie. Why don't we talk in private in my room? Mia's cheeks became red hearing the seductiveness of Sadie's voice. I have somewhere else to be, Sadie. Besides, I have a girlfriend now. Does it really matter? Sadie shamelessly leaned forward, but Michael took a step back. She tried to seduce him but never tried to use her telepathic abilities, as she saw what happened to Nyla when she tried to use the tactic on him during Heaven's Gate competition. Well, meet again, he said as his face was void of any expression. Looking at the way he acted, Sadie didn't feel annoyed at him but desired to find a loyal man like him, as none has ever rejected her because they have a girlfriend or boyfriend. She wanted to meet the lucky girl who got a man like him. Sadie let out a long sigh before turning back to walk to her room. Mia was busy counting the gold coins as he failed to notice a tiny spider following Sadie. Does the host plan to fly to the dark forest and then fly to Ice Flare from there? I was going to, but now I know you have a better way. Am I right? There is, the system said as he entered the system and saw a blue card with a golden outline floating before him. Function name, Runic Teleporter Function. Enable the host to instantly teleport to the base of operations and the places marked by the system. Upgradable. No, say the word and the function will be enabled. The system tried to rush him, but he had a few questions. I have a few questions, like what the heck is the price? Michael raised his voice at the end of his sentence. Only 15,999 points. The host can accept a loan of 20,000 points and enable the function. This is what you were planning, he sighed, realizing the meaning of the system's words before. He really didn't want to take another loan, but this function was very tempting for him, as it would be a great help traveling between kingdoms. However, he couldn't help but feel there might be some catches to this function. I assume there are some restrictions. The runic teleportation function cannot be used during a battle. The runes can only be placed in less populated places. Runes are free to place, or do I have to pay you? Each rune will cost the host 4,000 to 10,000 badass points depending on the distance between the host's current location and the destination. The system's words made his brows raise as he had one more question for the system. Does this function only let me teleport? No, the host can teleport subordinates and familiars with him for no additional cost. That's a surprise, said Michael, thinking deeply about taking the loan and buying the function. This does save me a lot of time and energy, he said to himself before taking a deep breath. System, give me a loan and buy this function. Wonderful, the system sounded pleased to hear his answer. Soon afterward, his badass points went from 8,500 to 28,500, and then it decreased to 12,501. Now that he had the runic teleporter function, a new jade green window with a list of names appeared in front of him. Currently, there were 2 names on the list, Sunrise Sect and the Abyssal. Both of them were his base of operations. However, he had to place a rune somewhere in Flame Fair before teleporting to Abyssal. This would save him the time of flying back to Flamefair from the Dark Forest. On top of saving time, he could now be Ghost in one kingdom and be Lucifer in another with ease. If he had to find a downside of this function, he would say it's the restriction of being unable to use the function during battle. Considering there was another upgradable teleportation spell in the system store, the restriction was understandable, as if he desired to teleport during a battle, he had to buy the upgradable teleportation spell. The reason Michael didn't buy the teleportation spell was, according to Gaia, the teleportation spell was considered as a legendary spell in this world. Therefore, if someone saw him teleport during a battle, it would make him a target of many. He decided to buy the teleportation spell only after he reached the core strengthening stage. For now, the lightning dash was a perfect substitute for the short-range teleportation spell. Since I got a loan and bought the function as you recommended, can you show me the places on Flamefair where I could leave a rune? A map of Flamefair appeared before him with a few golden dots on the holographic map. That's the tavern. He quickly recognized the place the golden dot was on as the tavern he spent the night. Good. He began to walk in the tavern's direction while moving the spider he left at the burning star to a dark corner in Sadie's room. Chapter 202, How do I place the rune system? Standing in a dark alley near the tavern, Michael questioned the system. Place your right hand on the wall before you. A prompt will appear. All right, said Michael, placing his right hand on the brick wall in front of him. This is a suitable place for a teleportation rune. Does the host wish to mark this area and add the location to runic teleportation locations? Yes. The very next second he agreed to the system's prompt, a dim golden light appeared from his right hand. The dim light then transformed itself into an orb of light before it disappeared into the wall. He opened the teleportation locations in the system to see the name Flamefair Tavern among the list. Looking at the list, he only needed to focus his gaze on the name Abyssal as another prompt appeared. Does the host wish to teleport to the Abyssal? Yes, and equip my Lucifer armor. An unearthly humming sound rang in his head while everything began to turn dark around him. Fuck! Michael stumbled on the wall as he felt like throwing up. The world was spinning around him as every muscle in his body ached. Teleportation was not a new experience for him. Regardless, using this function was a whole new experience for him. The host is feeling the aftermath of the teleportation. Your body will soon adapt to the new experience, and next time you teleport, you won't be feeling like this. Michael's legs trembled as he leaned on the wall, waiting for his body to feel better. After taking a few deep breaths, he looked around and realized that he's standing in his room in Abyssal. The fancy bed and sofa Gaia forced him to buy was a dead giveaway. Uek! Michael heard something hitting the ground as he turned to see Nightmare throwing up on the floor. Uk! His shiny crimson-red scales lost their glow. Nightmare tried to speak, but all that came out of his mouth was the meat he ate yesterday. Stay in this room. Don't come outside, I wish. You... Nightmare threw up again. Michael steadied himself before leaving the room. Navigating through the dark halls and corridors, Michael reached the throne hall. I should put lights on this place. It was a place built by the Order of the Death for the Dark Lord, but it didn't mean the place to be dark. He wanted to put some lights on so Abyssal could feel less gloomy and dreary. Considering Gaia left the Abyssal to go to the sect, the throne hall was empty. Instead of calling Dalar to ask where Arya is, Michael walked towards where the rooms were located. After entering the corridors, he could feel the energy fluctuations around Dalar's room. It was obvious that the orc was cultivating, and he had no intention to interrupt Dalar's cultivation. With the help of environmental scanning, Michael sensed a life presence in one of those rooms before him. The life presence was accompanied by two faint life presences. He knew they must be Arius brothers. When he got closer to the room, he could hear a muffled sobbing sound coming from the room. He didn't ask or knock on the door, but rather directly opened the door to enter. Ah! He saw Arya jump back in sudden shock, seeing him suddenly enter the room. If Michael wasn't wearing his Lucifer suit of armor with a mask, she wouldn't have been jolted like this, but his black mask and tall, bulky figure freaked her out. Instead of looking at Arya, his gaze was drawn towards the two figures lying on the bed. Both of them had neither legs nor arms, they were limbless. On top of them, He could see stitch marks and deep scars all over their bodies. They might have looked handsome before, except they were now anything but handsome. He could even see that someone had burned their hair. They were tortured and then experimented on, he thought to himself while walking towards them. She said, "You can save them." Arya mustered up her courage to walk closer to Michael. She stuttered as her body shivered. It was a sign of anger and helplessness. Arya stared at him expecting an answer, yet she got nothing. Her eyes welled up slowly, losing the last bit of hope she had for saving her brothers. "System, can we do something about them?" After looking at their state, he realized that even his alchemy skills weren't enough to save them. No matter how hard he thought, he couldn't find a potion or pill that would help them grow limbs. The system requires 500 badass points to scan their bodies. Take it, a layer of light covered their bodies before vanishing. Arya couldn't see the light layer as Michael did. Besides the lack of limbs, organs such as kidneys, pancreas, and energy veins were removed from them. They were removed while they were still conscious. On top of this, they were tortured to the point that pieces of their souls had already departed from their mortal bodies. The system also found residues of various chemicals in their blood and brain which could make healing them difficult. "You can heal them, right? Healing them will ensure her absolute loyalty. Plus, I have a feeling that these two will also be valuable subordinates to me in the future. The system can heal them for a price." "No shit, 50,000 badass points for healing the body and 25,000 badass points for growing legs and arms for each? Fuck," he cursed in his heart. 150,000 badass points were not something Michael could spend leisurely. He could upgrade his spells and use the points to become stronger. This made him think that whether healing them would be worth it. He knew that only Arya could give him the answer. Given her ability to completely hide the energy radiation from her body, if she could become a deadly assassin by training and cultivating, her loyalty would be priceless to his cause. The way to earn her absolute loyalty was by healing her brothers. Healing them is the best course of action, the system said, but he knew the system was saying this to make sure that he would heal them, thus giving the system his badass points. Michael always trusted his guts, and currently, his guts told him that Arya will be a worthy subordinate. He turned his gaze away from the bed to see Arya staring at him as tears were rolling out of her bloodshot eyes. Her parents were killed, she lost her brothers, sold to another continent as a slave, saw her best friend burned alive by a noble, served under a clown to kill nobles, and when she thought she's going to reunite with her brothers, her world was yet again turned upside down. Looking at Arya, even Michael felt pity for the girl. Besides the lack of limbs, organs such as kidneys, pancreas, and energy veins were removed from them. They were removed while they were still conscious. On top of this, they were tortured to the point that pieces of their souls had already departed from their mortal bodies. I can also sense residues of various substances in their blood and brain which could make healing them difficult. He repeated the words of the system to fan the flames of her emotions. First, he wanted to feel so helpless before giving her a ray of hope. Arya's legs failed her as she dropped to the ground after hearing his words. Anger and helplessness started to cannibalize her soul. Healing them is not impossible. However, it will take time. Her heart skipped a beat as she looked up at him. Her mouth kept opening and closing without uttering a single word. "Your absolute loyalty is my price for healing your brothers." Arya had nothing to give him except her body, and she was ready to give herself to him if he could heal him and required her to do so. Yet, he didn't ask her body but loyalty. "If I have to be a slave to him to save my brothers, so be it," Arya said to herself before kneeling in front of him. "I will die for you if it would bring my brothers back. Do you accept to be my subordinate?" "Yes, master." Does the host wish to accept Arya as a subordinate? "Yes, subordinate." Arya cultivation level, body refining stage level 2 race, human status, healthy trait, assassin loyalty towards the host, 28%. Her loyalty level did not surprise him. After all, he hadn't healed her brothers yet and she barely knew him. The system recommends the host to keep injecting them with a 90% pure healing potion to prevent any more pieces of their souls from departing. The system's voice sounded in his mind as he retrieved a healing potion he specifically made for him and Gaia from the system's storage. He then handed it over to Arya before gesturing at her to stand up. Inject this to their bodies. This will keep your brothers alive and give their bodies the strength to withstand the healing process, as starting the process now would kill them. Arya clenched onto the healing potion like her life depending on it. Meet me at the throne hall in 10 minutes. I want to know more about you and the slave mine where you found your brothers, said Michael before leaving the room. He was very curious about what kind of experiments were going on in the slave mines and who was doing these experiments on the slaves. Infiltrating the mines would give him more information before deciding what to do with the mine. Besides, it would always be a great help for him to kill bad guys and earn experience points. Whoever running the experiments on the slaves had no idea that they just drew the attention of someone they shouldn't have, Lucifer. Chapter 203. Miss Elia, everything's finished. We can open the restaurant whenever you want. Daniel and Ricky were reporting the status of the restaurant to Gaia as she was munching on the cookies. Crumbs of cookies were all over her pearl white dress and the sofa, yet she couldn't care less. Ill-inform Ghost and come to a decision. Now go make sure there's no problem at Majestic. Yes, Miss Elia. They bowed deeply before leaving her room. With Gaia's guidance and the pills given to them by her, Ricky and Daniel reached the body-strengthening stage. Previously, one could count the bones in Ricky's body, but now, he developed a well-toned body. Daniel, on the other hand, shed all the fat as well as his bushy beard. Their transformation was shocking to many people in Rivertown who have known them for so long. When they quit their guard job, many thought they were making a mistake. After all, working under the King of Bredia would provide them with a stable income and pension. However, those people who thought this became jealous, as Daniel and Ricky did not only earn a handsome salary but their social status was also elevated by Ghost. Sister Elia, may I come in? Jack asked, standing near the door. What is it? Is someone messing with the new girl again? No, Jack frantically shook his head. Only yesterday he saw Gaia beat the shit out of a guy who groped the new girl at the counter's ass. She was so ruthless that she set the guy's butt on fire. She's doing fine, considering a portion of the profit they were making in Majestic is going to the sect. Gaia hired a female disciple of the sect to be her assistant. By being Gaia's assistant meant that the girl has to do everything that Gaia does at the Majestic, including the occasional curses at the customers to keep them online. Thanks to Ghost and Gaia's reputation, there weren't as many unruly customers as when they first opened the Majestic. On top of the girl, Gaia also hired a group of adventurers as the security in case someone tried to steal or attack the Majestic while she was away. Even if the adventurers couldn't stop the attacks, they would function to slow down the enemies a bit by either getting killed or wounded. Miss Ella is here to meet you, Sister Elia. Go and tell her to come in. Soon after Jack left the room, Ella entered the room. She was still in full black with a hood covering her burned skin. Seating herself on the sofa, Ella looked around, searching for Ghost. He's Colonel. Tivating. Tell me, how's your thing ing? Words barely escaped her mouth, which was filled with biscuits. With everything you've given me, most of the disciples, teachers and elders will follow me. Most? You've got a specific number in mind? We've 140 disciples, 23 teachers, and 6 elders. Out of them, 100 disciples, 15 teachers, and 4 elders are on my side. The rest of them were too loyal to Matthias, or too stupid, said Gaia, placing the empty cookie jar on the table. Alright, I'd say we put this merger on the road. Demand the election to vote for a new sect leader now. Since you've got the majority of the elders and teachers at your side, you can easily win it, but something tells me you would have done it by now if there isn't a problem with that plan. Ella sighed, nodding her head. Matthias found a loophole in the document written by the founders. The election can't be held for another couple of years. Fuck the elections. Gaia punched the sofa in anger. Enough of this election shit. Let's kill this fucker and be done with him. No way we can kill him. The only reason he's still not killing me or my supporters is that he's afraid of your previous sect master, the Soul Refiner. Besides, nowadays he's not leaving his room and always cultivating. This seems like a good test for Arya. Gaia remembered Arya's ability to pass through defense arrays without triggering them. Handing over the operation to kill Matthias would be a good test for Arya, Gaia thought. Wait a sec. she said to Ella before going to the kitchen. Ella saw her coming back with a flower vase. Put this near Matthias' room. We'll take care of the rest. What is this? You don't want to know. Just do what I said, next time. Give me a fucking warning. Gaia threw up on the floor after Michael brought her to Abyssal by teleporting her. It's a new teleportation scroll I just created. You'll get used to it. I better be. He gave a few minutes to stabilize her body. Gross, Nightmare said, hovering over her head. Go away, you. She swatted Nightmare away before continuing to throw up. Considering she filled her belly with cookies, it took her a few minutes to empty her belly. Here, Michael gave her a bottle of water and wiped off her mouth using a kerchief. Don't you have a juice or something? Thut. Michael slapped the back of her head. Just drink the water. Raylene really spoiled this snake, Nightmare ridiculed Gaia. Enough you two. Come, we have work to do, he said, walking towards the surveillance monitors he glued to the wall in his room. Soon afterward, he willed the system to show the feed of Sadie's room. While the system was displaying the feed, he retrieved all the parts he bought from the Burning Star to start building the drones. Hey, look, it's the human who tried to kiss you. Nightmare bit his tongue, quickly realizing that he shouldn't have said this. Yet it was too late as he felt a cold, killing intent radiating from her body. What? Relax, I told her that I have a girlfriend. Nesta? However, before Gaia could say anything, she saw him stop whatever he was doing to stare at the monitor. We'll have this conversation later, she mumbled as she stared at the muscular woman on the monitor. After Nesta, a few other youngsters with guardian symbols embroidered on their chests entered Sadie's room. All of them looked very serious. Is it done? Sadie asked Nesta. Yes, Nesta said, throwing a file on the table before Sadie. I assume everyone has read this file, except for Sadie, who gawked cluelessly, nodded their heads. What were you doing? Banging Ghost? Nesta asked as Michael felt the air around him became colder. I wish. Apparently, he has a girlfriend now. Good for him. All right, let me run everyone through the plan again. Listen carefully. Sadie leaned on the nearby wall to listen to Nesta. From an hour ago, we the Guardians and the Duke have withdrawn the troops and recalled the hunt for Nightcrawler. Interesting, said Michael. What's the plan? The plan is simple, Sadie. We withdraw the men, let Nightcrawler crawl out of whatever hole he's in, and when he does, bam. Nesta punched a hole in the wall. We nab that bastard. How? Take a look at all the paintings. Nesta threw the file at Sadie as she began to rummage through the file. Since the spider couldn't cover the photos inside the file, Michael had no idea what the paintings looked like. Those are the paintings of Nightcrawler's victims. My team did a good job putting it all together. Can you see what they all have in common? Sadie remained silent for a few moments before answering Nesta. They all have red hair? Sadie said, furrowing her brows in doubt. Exactly. That sick bastard has a thing for redheads. However, that's not the only thing my team found. Look at the map, that's his hunting circle. Although redheads are not very common, there must be at least 50 redheads living in this area, 36 to be exact, and all of them are being replaced by my men as we speak, Nesta said and continued. As you all know, ever since we put the city under lockdown, there wasn't a single new murder that matched Nightcrawler's MO. The behavior predictors at the guild had classified Nightcrawler as a serial killer. The longer he goes without killing, the stronger his desire to kill again. We may have still no idea how did he manage to kill those nobles who had powerful defense arrays. We now know that he will strike as soon as he feels safe. Are you pretending to be withdrawing the troops or? No tricks. For the plan to work, we really have to convince the Nightcrawler that we called off the hunt. Only then he would emerge again and make a move on one of my 36 men. You're taking a pretty big risk here, Nesta, Sadie said as Nesta laughed. No risk, no reward, Sadie. You know this better than anyone. Michael swiftly moved the spider through telepathic connection to take a glimpse at Nightcrawler's hunting area. The spider had a risk of being caught by Nesta or anyone the Guardians in the room, but it was worth the risk. If they did catch the spider, Michael would destroy the spider remotely so they would get nothing. Just a little more. Michael mumbled, looking at the spider getting closer and closer to the file. If he could manage to move the spider directly above the file on the table, he would get a glimpse. System: the moment the file comes into the sight, take a picture. It would be 50 badass points. No problem. Fortunately, the camouflage of the spider was enough to avoid getting detected by the Guardians. Regardless of all the safety measures Michael built in the spider, he still treated spying using the spiders cautiously. Picture taken successfully. The moment he heard the confirmation sound from the system, he immediately moved the spider to a safe dark spot. Let's hunt this Nightcrawler ourselves. Erase the Discord link to my server where you can see the character images, listen to character theme music, and have a chat with me. Chapter 2:0 For the winter sky was a barren land filled with nothing but clouds. Only the howling wind and heavy downspout of snowflakes were the true companions of the night. Ironically, the city of Flame Fair lacked flames during this winter. One could not even see the guards patrolling around the Duke's manor. The soldiers were long gone into the barracks after leaving defense arrays activated around the manor. Not only the Duke's manor but every single important place was now protected by the arrays, not the guards unless they were willing to use arch energy to keep their bodies warm. The heavy downpour of snow soon became a merciless blizzard. The blizzard wind seemed like it was trying to replicate the sound of wolves howling at the moon. Those who were living outside the city suffered most of the winter. Most of them lacked the necessary winter clothes and cozy home. For the nobles, winter was a perfect time to increase their family size. The majority of the nobles treated the winter as their sweet little escape from reality. However, their perfect reality was messed up by a single person, Nightcrawler. Now the nobles had to spend their nights in fear as the cold was not the only reason for their shivering. "You messed up, human. I see no shit except blue," said Gaia, staring at the monitors back in Abyssal. "It's called thermal vision. To put it simply, my drone will pick up the heat signatures emitted by someone or something. Since Nesta withdrew the troops, leaving the Flame Fair vulnerable, there's a possibility that Nightcrawler would emerge from his hole. Ghosty, but look at the blizzard there. We can't bet this Nightcrawler would pick this night to hunt." Nightmare was right. The blizzard might throw a wrench on Nightcrawler's plans, but Michael strongly believed that he would choose this night to hunt. "You heard Nesta before. He's a serial killer. If I'm right, he's still learning the craft. Unless he learned to control his urge to kill, he will emerge from the dark." If Michael had either personally seen the crime scenes or read the file Nesta's team put together, he would have completely learned that Nightcrawler is still an amateur serial killer. Michael wondered how Nightcrawler managed to get in and out of the noble's house without triggering any defense mechanisms. If this Nightcrawler too had an ability to hide his arch energy radiation like Arya, he would prove to be a worthy cadaver for Michael to experiment on in the future. Recruiting a serial killer had too many risks, as most of the serial killers tend to work alone. "What are those thingies you made me put in all around Breedia and Kethan?" It's easier and fun to demonstrate rather than me explaining. The three of them stared at the monitors in silence before Gaia cleared her throat, attempting to get Michael's attention. She cleared her throat again, but seeing no response from him, she grabbed Michael's chair, turning him around to look at her. He saw her staring at him with her hands folded against her gorgeous chest. No matter how many times he has seen her, she still mesmerized him. If she showed her original face, he knew he has to fight noble brats from morning to night, as she was an angelic beauty who would turn a straight woman into a gay and gay man to straight in a few seconds. Even when she was mad or annoyed, it only boosted her beauty. "What?" Michael shrugged. The little dragon was slowly walking backward from Michael. "So that bitch tried to kiss you, huh?" It was not a question but rather sounded like a threat. "I thought I made myself clear. How about the next time I see her, I'd go for the kiss?" He joked, removing the black skull mask from his face. Like this, he pulled her closer as she stumbled on him. Without letting Gaia speak, he closed her mouth with his. The longer he kissed her, the stronger he pressed her head against his. It was a deep kiss willed with flames of passion and love. Nightmare's shout broke their kiss. The little dragon raised his claws, pointing at the mirrors. Gaia's meaningless anger completely vanished away after the kiss as she cuddled him tightly. Cuddling on the chair, they both looked at the mirrors to see a red humanoid figure moving over the rooftops. "Welcome to the party, pal," He willed the drone that's catching the figure's feed to follow. By looking at the thermal image of the figure, Michael could see the figure has a medium height with skinny body type. What's that? Because he was familiar with thermal images, he quickly saw the abnormal heat emission from the figure's body. All of the figure's body was golden yellow, but his chest area was bright red. The red around his chest area was also pulsating. Nightmare, come here, buddy. The little dragon hopped over to him as Michael put a collar around his neck. A small glimmer of light shone on the middle of the collar. It was the camera he built. What is this? It has a built-in camera. Look there, now I see what you see. He pointed at one of the mirrors as Nightmare saw Michael's and Gaia's faces in the mirror. Plus, there's a mic and speaker attached to the collar. These will let us communicate regardless of the distance. He didn't build these himself but bought from the system because it only cost him 100 badass points. He was too busy building 4 drones and spiders as he decided to buy them from the system rather than building them himself to save time. Moreover, the collar had a tiny poison dart that could be fired by Michael through a telepathic connection. Well, teleport to Flamefair. Follow him. It's highly unlikely that someone would notice you through the blizzard. Remember, don't get closer. I'll talk you through this. Let me go with him. Gaia interrupted Michael before he could leave the chair. If this Nightcrawler isn't stronger than me, I'll shoot him with one of the knockout arrows and bring him here. He rubbed his stubble beard he had started to grow recently. Gaia was a far better shot than him. He was good, but she was better. There was certainly a possibility that he could miss the shot at Nightcrawler thanks to the blizzard, yet he was confident that she could make the shot using her Legolas bow. Time was of the essence. Nightcrawler wasn't hunting as he was probably thinking. He was being hunted by the Guardians. Nightcrawler had no idea that he was going to walk straight into a trap. If Michael wanted to catch him, he must act now before it's too late. Alright, but if you feel something amiss, get the hell out there. I killed a group of Grim Reapers with a knife. How hard can this be? She said, cracking her neck. And I killed a group of trained assassins with an ice pick, but that doesn't mean we should be careless. He stood up from his chair before putting his black mask on. She too wore the mask that he gave her to change her face, and then, she put on the black mask to finish her female Lucifer getup. Oh shit, here we go again. She couldn't help but curse, recalling how bad she felt after being teleported using his new method. She closed her eyes involuntarily. The very next moment, she felt like she was being torn into countless pieces before a sudden chill hit her face. She opened her eyes to see she was standing in an alley knee-deep in snow. Go! Gaia and Nightmare took off from the ground like a rocket leaving the ground. In their rush to find some action, they forgot to ask what Michael's going to do. System, hide my presence, he said as the energy being radiated from his body became less and less until it had almost gone. Taking out a mirror from his storage, he monitored Nightcrawler, who was still moving on the rooftops. The blizzard was definitely making his advancement towards his target a pain, thus saving him from the Guardians. However, the Guardians weren't his only problem. Ghost, I can see him. He's just at the body refining stage. Michael was thoroughly stunned to hear Nightmare's words. He could sense the doubt and uncertainty in Nightmare's voice. I see him too. What the actual fuck? How could a body refiner manage to kill those nobles? Does he have a special ability like Arya? Take him down and we can find out his secret. Avoid hitting his chest though. He guessed that the thing pulsating could be Nightcrawler's secret. Therefore he didn't want it to get damaged by Gaia's arrow. Considering he himself brewed the knockout agent that was smothered on Gaia's arrows, he couldn't be more positive that it would knock him out the second the arrow hit Nightcrawler's body. He could feel the tension building up inside him. He had a strong feeling that this is going to lead him to something big other than a shitload of badass points he would get when he livestreamed killing Nightcrawler to the entire Breedia and Flamefair. Target insight. Take the shot. Michael took off from the ground like Superman. He soared through the air towards Gaia's location as fast as he could. He wanted to get Nightcrawler, subdue him with the help of the system before teleporting back to Abyssal. Chapter 205. The system scan is completed. Nightcrawler doesn't have any means to escape Abyssal unless the host choose to let him go. In one of the empty rooms of the Abyssal, a bold skinny man was tied to a chair that resembled the torture chairs in the movies. His ankles, feet as well as wrists were tied to the chair using barbed wire. This man was the infamous Nightcrawler who was terrorizing Flamefair and its citizens. Nightcrawler's ability is very similar to subordinate Aria's masking ability. The masking ability was what impressed Michael, resulting in Aria's recruitment. At the moment, Aria could only mask her energy radiation to full common defense arrays and body refining stage cultivators. Anything above the common category and anyone above the body refining stage could easily detect regardless of her ability. Michael wasn't so clear about the masking ability because even Gaia had no knowledge of such ability. When Michael asked the system, it only informed that her ability to mask her energy radiation would grow with her cultivation level. If he wanted to know more about this ability, the system required him to upgrade it to the next level. However, unlike subordinate Aria, Nightcrawler's ability seems to be originating from the artifact attached to his heart and is superior to subordinate Aria's masking ability. How do I detach this artifact from his body? He asked curiously. Killing him would do the trick. Oh, I plan to, he sneered, exiting the system. Nightmare was hovering around unconscious Nightcrawler while Gaia was tying the barbed wires more tightly. Here, crack this baby open. She threw a space ring towards Michael. A few seconds after he paid the system the badass points, he could see the contents inside the space ring. A serial killer indeed. The space ring contained nothing but vials of blood. Those glittering red vials were neatly stacked in a line inside the space ring. With a single glance, he could tell these were Nightcrawler's souvenirs taken from his victims. Unlike what he was told back at the tavern, there weren't 7 blood vials but there were a total of 10 blood vials. This meant one thing: he started the killing way before the Guardians had predicted. Anything interesting? Gaia asked, leaning on the wall with her hands folded against her chest. Take a look at this yourself. He threw back the space ring to her, but before she could catch the ring, Nightmare snatched the ring in the midair. Hey, give me that. She tried to grab Nightmare, but he was zigzagging around her to annoy her more. Seeing the play like this in front of an infamous serial killer like Nightcrawler made Michael frustrated and amused at the same time. Nightmare, give her the ring before she nails you to the wall, he warned Nightmare when he saw Gaia reaching for an arrow in her quiver. So easy to annoy, the little dragon chuckled before landing on Gaia's shoulder. She swiftly grabbed the ring from his mouth with an annoyed look on her face. But the annoyed look was soon replaced by a frown when she saw the contents inside the space ring. Are these? Yep, the vials containing the blood of his victims. This was the grossest thing she had seen in her life. In fact, this was not even close. Yet, this was the first time she saw a serial killer and his souvenirs with her own eyes. Let me see. Nightmare grabbed the ring from her hand. How about we kill this low-life and collect his blood in a vial? The little dragon's soft side was slowly vanishing due to his and Gaia's influence on him. Michael was glad to see this change because a dragon like him must be ruthless to his enemies. In the future, they would have to fight countless foes, and any kind of mercy or reluctance to kill a foe would cost them their lives. Michael was sure that the Guardians or any of his future foes wouldn't show them any kind of mercy. Let's wake this fucker up. Nightmare quickly flew into Michael's cape, attaching himself onto his back. Gaia slapped Nightcrawler so hard that the slapping sound echoed through the empty room. He could swear that he even saw molar teeth bursting out of Nightcrawler's mouth with a splatter of blood and saliva. Where? The pain hit him only a few seconds after he opened his eyes. Piercing gray eyes set concealed within their sockets, watching its surroundings wearily. As Nightcrawler's vision became less blurry and realization of he had been captured reached his brain, he tried to wiggle against the barbed wire shackling him to the chair. However, the more he struggled, the more he felt the excruciating pain of barbed wire sinking deep and deep into his flesh. Let me go. Both Michael and Gaia saw Nightcrawler frantically trying to move away from them without asking who they were, which meant he already knew the answer to that question. While he was struggling, Michael retrieved the drone from his storage. Gaia stepped away from the drone's camera angle into the corner of the room to blend with the darkness. The light in the drone's camera flickered before emitting a stable blue light, indicating to him that it's ready to broadcast the feed to everywhere Gaia put the projector balls. The projector balls would automatically find a suitable place in the area to project the feed so the people could see and hear Lucifer crystal clear. At the moment, the projector balls were projecting the feed to every corner of Flamefair and Breedia. One of the places the projector balls projecting the feed was the Burning Star building itself. With the help of the system, he built the projector balls to project the feed in the sky itself. Therefore, if there wasn't a large wall or building nearby the balls to project, they would use the sky itself as the projector screen. Plus, the projector balls had all kinds of audio enhancement that could make his voice extremely loud, which could give the otherworldly effect to Lucifer. System, activate the projectors, he said to the system, signaling Gaia to put a cloth around Nightcrawler's mouth. Michael stood in front of the drone with his hands behind. Welcome to my hell, people of Breedia and Flame. Ding. Congratulations to the host for successfully being a badass. The reward is 1,000 badass points. Ding. Congratulations to the host for successfully being a badass. The reward is 1,500 badass points. A few moments after he activated the projectors through the system, badass points began to rain as he continuously heard the notification sound ringing in his mind. I've been watching you, studying you. I saw massacres, corruption in every place, nobles and cultivators treating commoners as worse than dirt, commoners selling their bodies and stealing, slavery, experiments on people, and many, many more sins. His unearthly voice reverberated through all the Breedia and Flamefair. This continent is slowly turning into a hell, and in hell, you have to answer to me, Lucifer. Wonderful. Amidst the ringing sound of the notification, he heard the system's voice that sounded extremely pleased. Since the people who should have protected the innocents have been failing miserably, it's time every sinner in this continent experiences the justice served in hell. After these words escaped his mouth, he slowly stepped away sidewards for the drone camera to get Nightcrawler. Let me introduce the human whom you've known as Nightcrawler. He may elude the justice of mortals because of lack of evidence or the incompetence of the authorities. In here, I'd be the judge, jury, and the executioner. Michael let the words sink in the people's hearts. After a few seconds of silence, he went on. He has killed 10 people, 4 of them were innocent. They were just commoners who did their best to provide for their families. He hunted them like prey. He enjoyed killing them, every single moment of it. Michael ran his claws through Nightcrawler's face. Everywhere his sharp claws touched Nightcrawler's body, blood seeped through the cuts. In my hell, you're all nothing but miserable praise. If your authorities had caught him, he would have been fed, given a cozy little prison cell, and then a fair trial. There's nothing fair in giving this murderer a trial. Too much waste of time. Michael's hands stopped running around Nightcrawler's face as he clenched Nightcrawler's bald head and slowly began to apply pressure. Nightcrawler violently wiggled against the barbed wires, feeling the pain of his skull getting crushed by Lucifer. Just like he did to those innocent mortals, his death too will be slow and painful. Gaia could hear the cracking sound coming from his bald head. Webs of blood seeped through the cracks appearing in his bald egg. Michael felt like he's been slowly crushing an egg in his hand. Every sinner in this continent will pay for their crimes, just like those who did before Nightcrawler as well as those who were claiming to be me. You can escape mortal justice, but you can't escape mine. No amount of gold or connections will save you in my hell. Pulch! Michael suddenly used all of his strength as Nightcrawler's head exploded into a red mist like an exploding watermelon. Splatters of gray matter oozed out of Michael's hands to the ground as Nightcrawler's body was still twitching. I will give the sinners one more chance. Within the next 2 months, surrender to the authorities and pay the price for your crimes. The authorities should give a most fitting punishment for their crimes, or after 2 months, this will continue. Remember, you can't beg for forgiveness from me. The Southern Continent arc will begin from the. Expect pirates, gladiators, and much, much more. Chapter 206 System Version 3. 0 Host, Michael Cultivation Level, Core Formation Stage, Level 3 Experience Points, 5,000/400,000 Badass Points, 66,500 Skills and Spells. Wind Blast LVL2 Responsive Shield, LVL3 Environment Scanning, LVL2 Ignitia, LVL2 Lightning Dash, LVL2 Energy Devour, LVL1 Death Range, LVL2 Techniques. Swords of Destiny 90% Mastery Ring of Fire, 57% Mastery Occupation. Core Disciple of Sunrise Sect, the Guardian of Sunrise Sect, Lord Lucifer of the Abyssal Status. Healthy Goals. Control the World Rebuild. The Order of Death Utility Function. Banker, LVL3, Ratio, 1000 Gold Coins, 10 Badass Points, Runic Teleportation Wealth, 2,170,000 Gold Special Trait, 5-star Alchemist, 3-star Inventor Subordinates. Gaia, Warrior, Loyalty Level 100%. Raylene, 5-star Chef, Loyalty Level 98%. Arya, Assassin, Loyalty Level 28%. Base of Operation. Sunrise Sect, the Abyssal, Wonderful. Even after settling his debt, there remained 66,500 badass points. From now on, he decided to leave more projector balls everywhere he visits so the next time he goes live, he could get more badass points. Yes, you should. As the system read his mind, it replied to him. How do I get the artifact from him? Open his chest and you will get the artifact. Great. Exiting the system, he couldn't help but roll his eyes. He was not a surgeon who could delicately open up Nightcrawler's chest. Dagger. Gaia threw the jade dagger hanging from her waist. What are you doing? Nightmare asked while hovering around Nightcrawler. Gaia moved towards him, avoiding the gray matter on the ground. I'm going to open up his chest to get what I want. Need a hand. She grabbed Nightcrawler's shoulder to hold him firmly while Michael cut open the chest. Seeing her helping him, he couldn't help smiling. She was perfect for him in every way. There weren't many girls who would help their boyfriends cut open someone's chest, even if the chest belonged to a killer. Yet, Gaia was happily doing her wifely duties. Honestly, he looked forward to giving her the throne of Nagaland so he could marry this perfect girl. No matter how many people he would have to kill in Nagaland, he would do it for her. Thinking about his bright future with her, he plunged the dagger into Nightcrawler's abdomen. He then worked his way upwards like gutting a fish. Blood and guts oozed out of the body, yet they never slowed him down. This is gross, Nightmare commented looking at the gore. Eventually, after a few more minutes, they could see the heart as well as a small copper cube. The cube was attached to the heart, radiating a faint light and a humming sound. Ding! The host has found an ancient artifact. The system requires 30,000 badass points to initiate a scan that could lead the host to something special. Do it, he never hesitated. The last time the system asked him badass points to find something interesting, he ended up with the Abyssal, his own little Batcave. Therefore, when the system tempted him again, he jumped the gun. Great. Initiating the scan. What the fuck is this? Gaia poked the copper cube after Michael gently ripped it off from Nightcrawler's heart. Nightmare stared at Michael for his answer, but instead of giving Gaia the answer, he patiently waited for the system to finish scanning the artifact. Scan completed. The host should get a world map. Gaia, do you have a map? She took out an old worn-out parchment from her space ring. He feared that opening the parchment would crumble down the old piece of paper. Old Rizzle has been with me since I first started my adventure. You named your map. Don't judge me, she giggled as she handed over the map to Michael. After delicately opening the parchment, he saw the map of this world for the first time. There were 4 large pieces of land, each divided by vast oceans. The largest continent among the 4 was the continent named Ar, which was doubled the size of Elon and Azair. The smallest yet farthest continent from Elon was the southern continent, also known as Midras. The southern continent was made of 4 kingdoms: Lidra, Jysel, Utopia, and the Prado Kingdom. There wasn't much information on the map about each kingdom's characteristics or what they have to offer. As he laid his eyes on the southern continent, a dot of blue light could be seen only by him in the kingdom of Jysel. This is our next destination. You gonna tell me what is in there? The origin of this artifact, she wanted to ask how he knew that, but she decided not to. Even after he revealed most of the information about him, she could tell that it was only the tip of the iceberg, as he seemed to have a secret that he couldn't tell her. However, she trusted him to tell her everything one day. Until then, she would keep her questions bottled. Southern continent is a 2-month journey from here if we get in a good condition ship. Ship? Why can't we just fly there? Nightmare asked. First of all, when we enter the atmosphere of the southern continent, we won't be able to use arch or any kind of energy. Second of all, there is no land to take a rest in the Midras Ocean. Unless you have a better way, I'd suggest we hop on a merchant ship. She removed her mask as she stepped closer to Michael. Regardless of the blood and gore around him, he could smell the sweet fragrance radiating from her. I always wanted to visit the southern continent, and now it's going to be even better with you. It's not going to be our honeymoon or anything, Michael sighed, remembering her no sex until marriage rule. Although he respected her wish, he would be lying if he said he don't care about taking the kiss to the next level. Shoo, she put her finger on his lips. No marriage, no fling, but it doesn't mean we have nothing to do during our journey. His eyes sparkled as his heartbeat rose. He felt like a virgin boy who just got a date to lose his virginity. He couldn't wait to get on a ship to the southern continent. Don't mind me. Looking at how close they were standing to each other, Nightmare rolled his eyes. And just as the little dragon expected, they locked their lips despite their rather disturbing surroundings. Let's just first go to the auction and make some money. I'd bet they have some nice swords, Gaia purred, gently kissing her ear. After the auction, remind me to visit the house of Bradley. You said they are mainly in business for private security, he said, recalling Nathan's uncle, Lord Malin's request to visit the house of Bradley. Yeah, not number one or anything, but they have a decent operation going on. If everything goes smoothly, we can use them to protect our assets. Extra security to Raylene doesn't hurt, considering Raylene was a 5-star chef and she would be more famous once they open the restaurant. They had to make sure she stays safe. One could not say for sure that no one would harm her or try to kidnap her. Let Delar use his netherals to clean up this mess and the mess you two made in my room. The snake and the dragon revealed an embarrassed smile, thinking how hard they threw up in Michael's room, especially Nightmare. It was fortunate they have netherals to do the dirty work. Otherwise, they knew he would make them clean up the mess. Somewhere else in Elon continent, did you see that, Zanali? Peyton was watching the vast forest before her, standing on the edge of a mountain. Zanali, the red-haired princess and half-sister of Gaia, carried a face of anger as well as confusion. Yes, everyone in Breedia and Flamefair saw it. It won't take too long for the news to reach the entire Elon. He was mocking us. The Guardians were the authorities he mentioned who failed miserably. Peyton was radiating killing intent as her body was shivering in anger. His words, Peyton. The real questions we should ask are, how did he project himself? What kind of spell was he using? Was that really Nightcrawler he killed? Our mages are working on it. As for the Nightcrawler, it was that brute Nesta's assignment. After Lucifer's little show on Royal Land using Jerdy's body and netherals, he just made the top of the priority list. But it also tainted our reputation. According to our spies, more than a few really believes the nobles were killed by the Guardians. It is the truth, Peyton. We went too far. We shouldn't have killed those nobles. You never understand, do you? Peyton said coldly, turning her gaze from the horizon to Zanali. You can't clean a mess without getting your hands dirty. Sometimes it's necessary for the good guys to be the bad guys to do some good. If you think the bad guys will play by our rules, you're naive and stupid. Peyton didn't hold back as her words pierced Zanali's heart like needles. At this moment, Zanali wondered what Gaia did and said could be really the truth about this world. Captain Gerard almost pulled the plug of Operation New Dawn. We cannot afford to take any more shits thrown at us by Lucifer. Increase the recruitment process. I want every prodigy or talented kid on the block to join the Guardians. We can use their love for power to our advantage. Peyton's cold words stopped Zanali's train of thought. Then the championship tournaments in 3 months would be a good place for some fresh blood. Start the screening process now. The tournament might have a chance to get delayed by a couple of months. Tell Noah about the recruitment. I'd bet he knows some freaks of nature. Sorry for not replying to your comments as I've been very busy lately. However, I did read all your comments. I will soon start to reply. Keep those comments coming. Chapter 207. After teleporting back to Flamefair, they didn't spend any time as they took off towards Icefair to go to the house of Bradley as well as attend the annual Phoenix Manor auction. In the skies, the trio occasionally noticed several groups of people in fancy winter clothes and mercenaries in armor flying towards Icefair. Considering the snowfall had worsened since he left Flamefair, Michael could barely recognize the faces in the sky through the snow. Icefair was roughly 1,000 kilometers away from Flamefair, and with snowstorm affecting their flying speed, it took them a full day to reach Icefair. Among the 4 duchies of Kethen, Icefair was a far more accomplished and fancy-looking city by far compared to the other 3 duchies. The constant war between the Rosegate, Penttown, and Flamefair was one of the main reasons for Icefair's development. The Duke of Icefair made his fortune by selling weapons, food, and many other resources needed for a war to the other duchies. In simple words, Icefair was the oil that keeps the war between the others running. As they approached, large groups of travelers could be seen on the roads beneath them on the ground. As far as the eye could see, various types of people such as merchants, mercenaries, commoners, and nobles could be seen sharing the roads. When the city walls appeared in their sight, Michael, Gaia, and Nightmare descended from the sky to the ground. As usual at the gates, several soldiers were standing in a line. They were there to make sure every single soul is paid an entrance toll before entry. After paying that entrance toll, entry to the city would be given without trouble. While standing in a line, Michael could feel many eyes landing on him and Nightmare on his shoulder, yet no one openly approached him. He also saw some of the merchants paying more than the entry fee to avoid the forceful inspection of their goods. The soldiers were agitated to see the dragon, but they quickly regained their composure. After witnessing them taking bribes and forcefully inspecting the goods of those who didn't bribe them, he understood what kind of soldiers they were. They were the type who loved to bully but couldn't stand to be bullied in return. Knowing that anyone who had a dragon for a pet would not be of ordinary stature, the soldiers didn't dare trouble Michael and Gaia. Hence, Michael's group was easily able to enter the city without any hindrance. Entering the city, Michael looked around the place with observing eyes. Unlike Flamefair, Icefair streets were filled with people of all classes. A group of workers was constantly shoveling the snow away from the streets to make life easier for caravans and the people. The white marble stone used to construct the majority of the buildings on each side of the street gave a unique charm to the city, as the occasional frozen water fountains and white maple trees enhanced the beauty even further. The auction won't start for another 2 days. Let's find an inn and eat. I'm starving. How could you starve? The arch energy will keep your body sustained. All right, no more meat for you then. She flicked Nightmare's head as the little dragon quickly shouted, "No." Nightmare feared that he wouldn't get any more of those delicious juicy mean Ghost was giving him. Surrounded by 2 gluttonous creatures, it wasn't hard to find an inn when he could let Gaia and Nightmare follow the scent of ale and food. Arriving at a rather decent inn within the city, Michael booked a room before the inn could run out of rooms to rent. I wish we could open restaurants in every city we go and make Raylene cook for us there. Michael did not even sit on the bed to relax before she started to rush him. With a sigh, he followed her to the downstairs where they were serving plenty of local delicacies. Although these dishes couldn't hold a torch to Raylene's cooking, a warm meal in the winter had to be appreciated. Seated right next to Michael, Nightmare devoured a platter of roasted meat with the grace of king, much to the curiosity of everyone else around them. Michael was enjoying his salad and the warm glass of water with a smile. The reason for his smile was not the salad. It was because he was receiving badass points constantly ever since he entered the inn with a dragon. What a majestic creature. Do you know what family that young man is from? I have never seen him in Icefair before. Who do I feel like I know of him from somewhere? The 3 of them completely ignored the chattering around them. Looking at the dragon, many young misses in the inn let out a depressed sigh. They stared at the dragon with a look of envy on their faces. "Waiter, bring me another plate of this roast." "Coming right up, miss." Gaia didn't even bother to look up to see Michael's reaction as she continued to eat the platter of food in front of her. The rate at which the food was devoured was almost as she had been starved for several days. "That salad any good?" she asked, gawking at his bowl of salad after devouring the food on her side of the table. "Why, you want this? Let me take a bite." Just as she was moving her hands towards his bowl, the waiter came to her with the dishes she ordered to save Michael's salad. Eventually, after the snake and the dragon filled their bellies, they left the inn, taking a stroll around Icefair. As they walked, Nightmare's little head swiveled back and forth. He took in all the sights while curiosity filled him. Plenty of people on the streets found themselves turning their heads to look at Nightmare. Plenty of surprising whispers could be heard, and many young girls made less than discreet comments at the dragon and at Michael. There had been several young daredevils who tried to flirt with Michael, but each and every one of them had been chased away by Gaia with a punch to their faces. For fuck's sake, this city is filled with shameless horny bitches, Gaia cursed after sending a young girl flying with a kick to her butt. At that moment, a drumming sound could be heard from the front as a group of red-robed men came striding through the city with a huge clamor. The scene looked like a wedding concession with the festive celebration, but the contents of their words caused everyone on the streets to feel stunned. Good news, everyone! Our Phoenix Auction Manor will be auctioning off 2 epic-class spells in the upcoming annual auction. The man leading the group was speaking through a giant, gold horn with a blast of sound that could be heard in all directions. What? The Phoenix Auction Manor has 2 epic spells to sell, is that true? Heavens, more have appeared? And there's 2 of them at the same time, did I hear that right? If the auction is going to be selling one of those, we must go and inform the Lord. This annual auction is getting better and better. I wonder what else they have in store to auction. Following the announcement, the people began to chatter more and more with excitement. There was no doubt that the news of 2 epic spells would soon spread farther and farther as well. "I bet this is just a warm-up," Gaia said after the announcement group disappeared from their sight. Regardless of the city being full of people, Michael saw no quarrels or battles in the city. Instead, it seemed the mercenaries and the young masters of the rich families had kicked their arrogance down a notch. Even they realized that one could never be too sure if one would meet a civilian or a person one could not offend. After all, men of great strength did not need to reveal it to the public. Let's get back to the inn. Eventually, when the nightfall came, the snowstorm sent the people running to their homes searching for a warm place. Considering the trio didn't come across anything worth investigating, Gaia wanted to return to the inn. Nightmare was already deep in sleep after a hearty meal. Except for the poor soldiers who had to keep patrolling the streets, Michael saw no people in the streets on their way to the inn. His black clothes almost turned white in the snow. After dusting all the snow off of his clothes and Gaia's hair, he entered the inn and then to his room. Stop! Suddenly he stopped at the entrance to his room. "What?" Gaia asked, seeing him raise his brows. She held the sleeping Nightmare in one hand and took out the dagger in the other. "Someone was here before." He pointed at the ground as she saw a faint mark of a boot print coming out of the room. Unless the inn appointed anyone to clean their guest's room without their permission, she knew someone went inside their room. "No one should have entered the rooms, especially during this auction time," she whispered. He nodded before pushing the door open. His environmental scanning did not reveal any life signs inside the room that meant whoever was there has long gone by now. When he entered the room Causticity, the room was just as he left except for a letter with golden outlines and red wax seal. They moved towards the letter slowly. "That's the seal of House Bradley," she said when she saw the 2-leaf symbol on the wax seal. It was the symbol of none other than the House of Bradley. "It seems Lord Malin couldn't wait to see you, human." Chapter 208. Michael picked up the letter. He could feel a metal card inside the letter. Carefully tearing the letter open without giving a damn about a letter opener, he started to read the words written on high-quality paper in beautiful handwriting. "Hey kiddo, little birdies told me you're here in Ice Fair. If you're here at this time, I guess you came to the auction and I like to think you'll also visit us. Pardon our method of reaching out to you as we are currently dealing with a delicate situation in which you can help us out. Come meet us after the auction. P.S. I have left something you might need to get into the auction, Lord Malin." He lifted the letter as a card made of silvery metal landed in his hand. The 1-inch thick card had the symbol of House Bradley etched on it. Nice, a VIP access card. Gaia recognized the card in a single glance. Except for the auctions that happened in Nagaland, she never had a VIP card outside. It was not because she couldn't afford it, but being a VIP kinda attracted people's attention and she liked to be anonymous when participating in auctions. What did he mean by "I need to get into the auction"? Reading those words, he couldn't help recalling his little fiasco with Lord Julius in Phoenix Island. When he met Julius, he was a core strengthening stage level 5, and if he now reached level 8 or even level 10, Michael didn't give a damn, as he would reach that in a few months. He hoped Julius let go of whatever grudge he may have been holding against him, as Michael would hate to kill him because he would rather use Julius and his operation to his advantage than killing him. However, if Julius chose to do otherwise, Michael would plot a plan to replace him with one of his subordinates in the future. Unlike young masters like Noah, who would go on a killing rampage because of petty grudges, Michael liked to kill fewer people and use the infrastructure they've built over years to his own benefit. This would prove useful in the long run. For example, Julius has set up a perfect operation of trade among continents, and killing Julius and all of his people would crumble this operation to dust. But if Michael was to replace Julius as well as few others with his minions, the entire Phoenix Auction Manor would work for him. I'm gonna get shut-eye. Wake me up early in the morning, I'll cultivate. Some of us don't have the privilege of a war god body like some lucky bastards. He just waved off before placing a system store-bought silk quilt on the bed. Gaia sat on the ground in a meditation posture to cultivate, while the little dragon hovered between them, trying to decide whether to sleep with Michael or cultivate with Gaia. Looking at Nightmare's dilemma, she just grabbed him by his tail. You're gonna cultivate with me. It's a shame that you're still in body refining stage level 1. Slowly absorb the energy coming from this, she said, taking out the bone of the fusion stage cultivator that Michael brought from the nether realm. System, can I also boost Nightmare cultivation speed by 40%? Yes, familiars will get the boost as well as your chosen subordinate. The host's current chosen subordinate is Gaia. The host can currently boost the cultivation speed of 2 subordinates. Great. System, boost Aria's cultivation speed. I will bring some resources to Raylene when I get back to the sect. I can feel it. It'll reach level 9 in a couple of weeks. I'm awesome. Gaia proudly exclaimed, looking at Nightmare. She had no clue that her cultivation speed was being boosted by Michael. Coupled with her innate talent, the 40% boost can let her match Michael's cultivation speed itself, as he couldn't go on a killing spree every single day. The night quickly passed. Dawn somewhat broke the dark winter skies from the horizon, marking the opening day of the Heavenly Phoenix auction, which had long since opened its gates. The giant gates had been decorated with ribbons and lanterns as both people and workers streamed in and out of the building. In the distance, quite a few dressed-up people stood there, waiting for the auction house to open. Today was the day of the annual auction at the Phoenix Auction Manor. In the past, this had always been the busiest day for the Phoenix Auction Manor, but today, they had the 2 epic spell scrolls and various unique items for sale. This year was even livelier than the years before. Regardless of the rain of cold snowflakes, there were already many people waiting by the gates. The Phoenix Auction Manor building was exceptionally tall. Despite being only 3 stories tall, it had already reached several dozen meters higher into the air than of a typical 5-story building back on Earth. Just like most of the buildings in Icefair, it had been also built using a marble-like shiny white stone and decorated with sky blue windows. On top of the great big gates to the auction house was a 3-meter-tall board that had the 3 words, Phoenix Auction Manor, written in fancy calligraphy. More and more people began to gather at the Phoenix Auction Manor and filled up the nearby streets. Caravans found it extremely difficult to get by or find parking. Many people had been waiting for at least 2 hours before the ear-splitting sounds of a gong and firecrackers could be heard. This year's annual auction had finally begun. The auction this year wasn't like the past auctions. In the past, there was no fee to enter the auction house, either to participate in the auction or just to watch it. However, because of epic spells and the uniqueness of the items, the admission fee this year hiked up to 50 gold coins. This was not the amount a villager or farmer could afford, but again, this was not a place for the poor. Although this hike in prices made many people unhappy, it did not deter the people with money in their pockets. At the same time, it had gotten rid of the people who were merely there to watch the show and not buy anything. In this way, there was enough room for all the rogue cultivators and mysterious figures that were extremely interested in the items after the gates opened up for the auction house. The people who already had tickets and waited outside for a very long time began to enter through the entrance in a straight line. On the other side of the buildings, There were much fewer people and all of them wore elegant clothes that basically screamed nobles. Please come this way. A young man was standing near the entrance, screaming his heart out. Since Michael had a VIP access card thanks to Lord Malin, he walked towards the VIP entrance. He waited until the nobles in the line before him entered the auction house. As he reached the inner halls of the Phoenix auction manor, ignoring the nobles' shocked look at Nightmare, a large expansive area greeted his eyes. The place was filled with neat rows of seats for as far as the eye could see. It was clear that the number of seats had surpassed 500. The area had 2 stories worth of seats, and the 2 stories combined had a total of over 1,000 seats. Installed on the sides of every seat were dozens of private rooms for the honored guests, each separated by a tinted glass wall. From the inside, they could still clearly see the outside, but no one on the outside could see what was happening on the inside. That way, Gaia showed him the stairs to get to the second floor where the private rooms for the VIP guests were located. However, just as he was about to walk the stairs, he noticed a lady in red robes eyeing him and murmuring something with the young man who let Michael in. It was obvious they were talking about him as they did not take their eyes away from him. Soon afterward, the lady walked towards him with a rather stern look on her face. Gaia frowned looking at her expression because she was full of smiles when she let the other VIP guests in. "Ghost, I assume," the lady in red robes said. She was the first one to completely ignore Nightmare as she didn't even look at the dragon standing on his shoulder. "Yes, it seems we have to check your VIP status. Is there a problem?" He folded his hands against his chest as a sign of irritation. "The auction will begin in 3 hours. If you want to auction your items, please seek out our manager Miss Vargas on the first floor." A voice of an elder sounded throughout the building. "Tell them, he'll be there in a few minutes," the red robes woman said as he realized the woman before him is the manager of this branch, Miss Vargas. "Well, this saved me the trouble of finding you to auction this." His goal was today to auction the rare herbs he found at the treacherous ocean and some of the rare spells he got from the Nether realm. By doing this, he would get richer and use the gold coins to develop his business empire. Because of this plan, he first wanted to tempt this lady for her to stop acting like a bitch. Only if she still continued to act this way he would leave this place, but if he walked out of this place, the name Julius would certainly make its way into his kill list along with this woman. Her stern look took a turn as her brows arched up when she saw the silk apples in Michael's hands. The fragrance of the fruits instantly made her mouth water. Just a single glance could tell her that these fruits were at least 2,000 years old. An alchemist would buy the silk apples instead of an epic spell any time of the day, and she just saw Alchemy King Gabriel's disciples settling in one of the VIP rooms. Choose wisely, Miss Vargas. Petty grudges and lose a valuable customer, or wipe the slate clean and make some sweet, sweet money. Chapter 209. This is. Vargas reached out to grab one of the silk apples in the basket. Michael had a total of 30 apples, but he chose to auction only 5 because according to the system, it could extract the seeds from the other apples and help him grow silk apple trees after it reached version 4.0. The probability of getting healthy seeds out of a silk apple was 40% according to the system. Therefore, Michael decided to keep most of the apples instead of auctioning them. However, before she could touch an apple, he pulled the basket away from her. "Congratulations, Master Ghost, we have checked your VIP status and are honored to offer you a permanent VIP status of your own as you don't need to carry the VIP card of the Bradley family anymore." It was really surprising how Vargas' expression changed in a blink of an eye. Unlike before, she was now grinning ear to ear. After all, she was a businesswoman who knows what's good for business. Her change of character wasn't a big shock to him because after his time spending with the merchants in this world, he knew these merchants are cunning, shameless, and do almost anything if it brings profit to them at the end of the day. It also revealed Michael 2 things. She wasn't under a strict order of Julius not to let him anywhere near his Phoenix auction manor houses, and she wasn't as good as she's thinking. Otherwise, she would have behaved like this from the beginning and not like the bitch she was before. "My assistant here will give you your VIP access card after the auction. Make it black." "As you wish." Vargas' grin grew wider as she sighed a sigh of relief. Michael nodded approvingly before handing over the basket of silk apples to Vargas. She grabbed the basket as her life depended on it and held it against her ample chest tightly. "Remember, we are not selling the apples, we're auctioning them," Gaia said with a cold tone. Just like in any other auction house, the Phoenix Auction Manor too had two options for the sellers to choose from. They could either sell the items to the Phoenix Auction Manor or auction the items in events like this. By choosing the latter, the sellers had to pay a small fee before the auction and a small cut in the gold coins after successfully auctioning the item. Those who want to make gold coins quick and hate to pay a cut could choose the option to sell. There was no downside for this option as the Phoenix Auction Manor was trusted by people to give them the right price. They wouldn't sully this reputation by swindling their customers, downplaying the value of the item like in pawn shops. However, if one decided to auction the item instead of selling, the starting bid price would be always somewhat less than its actual value. If bidders chose not to go for high bids and the item ended up being sold way cheaper than its actual value, there was nothing the seller could do except take the bid money. This risk would be greater when superpowers compete for the item, as they would often intimidate others not to place bids more than them if they took a liking to the said item. Plus, selling the items instantly was always a great way to remain anonymous, as the deal would happen between the auction house and the seller, no third parties included. In the method of auction, however, the bidder, the representative of the auction house, and the seller would meet in the same room for the exchange of money and item. If the bidder chose to pursue the seller or the seller chose to get the item later on from the bidder's corpse, there would be a problem. End of the day, it boils down to the rarity of the item, the number of gold coins, and the greediness of either party included in the deal. But auctioning it is, Michael interrupted Vargas when she was about to speak. "And put these in the auction too." The next moment, he made Vargas' heart almost jump out in shock by taking out a few 3,000-years-old herbs such as storm leaf, bitter barberry, river chicory, and ash bloom. He plucked these from the treacherous ocean. Her body became rigid. "Whoa!" Vargas gasped. Either of these herbs could go for 300,000 gold coins minimum. Yet she also knew that alchemists like them rarely auction rare herbs such as these. She couldn't help but wonder why he's auctioning these herbs that most alchemists consider priceless. For other alchemists, they were indeed priceless, but for him, these were just overrated junk because he could get the same medicinal qualities these herbs provide from common plants which weren't even acknowledged as herbs by the alchemists in this world. "That's all. I'll see you after the auction," Michael said before leaving her to get to his VIP room. When they disappeared from Vargas' sight, he grabbed Gaia's hands, halting her steps. "Go sit with the crowd." "Why?" Nightmare asked cluelessly. The little dragons saw an evil grin slowly emerge on their faces. "I'll contact you through the earbuds and keep you updated." Gaia nodded as he placed his hand on her face. System change her face. Gaia felt the familiar tingling sensation underneath her skin as she could feel her face changing. "Change your face again before meeting me after the auction." Even without Michael explaining what he was thinking, she knew exactly what he wanted her to do. In fact, she always did that for fun when she was a rogue cultivator, but now, she could have fun as well as get rich. After Gaia went to sit with the commoners and lesser nobles, he and Nightmare walked up to the stairs reaching the second floor. The second floor of the auction hall was where all the private rooms were located. Those who had the privileges of staying in one of those rooms were all wealthy people with great influence. "This time, we have to get something nice. My family gave me quite a chunk to get a weapon for the upcoming tournaments." "Nice. I heard they sell some great-ass weapons in the auction." Michael was the first to enter the second floor, but soon many youngsters and elders reached the floor from other entrances. Michael quickly grabbed Nightmare, putting him inside his coat pocket. Only a few of them were able to take a glance at Nightmare before he disappeared into Michael's pockets. They stared at Michael, murmuring among themselves before entering their VIP rooms. Michael just slowly walked past each room as he soon came in front of a door that had the symbol of the Bradley family etched on it. However, he didn't enter the room as the others did but waited for the corridors to become empty. Considering the VIPs were far less than the lesser nobles and commoners participating in the auction, after waiting for 15 minutes, one couldn't see a soul except Michael. "Spy my little spiders." He retrieved the spying little spiders from his system storage and let them crawl through every VIP room in the area. Only after every single spider reached their respective room to spy, he entered the room allocated for him. The decoration within the private room was simple. There was a long solid wood table right in the center, and in front of the table, there were a few big fancy sofas. In front of these sofas, there was crystal clear glass. He could see the entire auction hall as well as the stands on the center stage of the auction hall while sitting on the sofa. On the center stage, a bunch of youngsters, the majority of them were girls, still bringing more and more stands covered in red cloth to the stage. A few of them contained the herbs Michael gave to Vargas. At the moment, there was a huge piece of cloth covering the majority of the stands, making everyone unable to see what was hidden underneath. After some time, the auction hall had been completely filled up, with every last empty spot being crowded with people standing close together. Just as the final seats were taken and everyone had settled down, a golden eruption of fireworks exploded overhead, instantly calming down the noise. After that, an old man in a gray robe slowly descended from above and landed right onto the stage. The old man was in his 50s, and his sleeves fluttered with every soft breeze passing by. His oily face carried a friendly smile, leaving a good impression on all those who watched him. The clothes covering the items also slowly started to ascend into the air, revealing the items to the crowd. The elder's eyes swept the audience as he cleared his throat and loudly announced, "Honored guests, I thank you all for participating in our Phoenix Auction Manor's annual auction. I, Goran Lanyon, will be the host for this year's auction, and so I hope everyone today will be able to see an item they will want to buy." The elder paused for a moment to clear his throat once more before continuing to speak. This year the Phoenix Auction Manor has seen its busiest year. That is because this year, we shall be auctioning off many precious items that our Phoenix Auction Manor has already announced and many more that we just acquired. Trust me, even this old man has only heard about some of these items only in legends. I hope you've brought your pay cubes with you, the old man joked as a small tremor of laughter reverberated through the hall. What these items are, I am sure many people here are already aware of. So I will not waste any more time describing them, but I will give you a detailed explanation about the new items to the best of my knowledge. When the elder was speaking, he had used his arch-force to magnify his voice so that everyone in the auction hall would be able to hear it. The old man continued to explain the rules without stopping. What a talker, hurry up and start the auction. Yeah, I'm going to fall asleep. Many people couldn't take it anymore as they began to shout at the old man. But the old man did not give a shit until he preached every single rule about the auction. Alright, I think everyone should have a clear understanding of the rules now. Let the auction begin. At the sound of the elder's words, 10 men suddenly walked toward the stand, encircling it. Their eyes stared coldly at the audience as if showing off their positions as bodyguards. Finally, Michael stopped playing with Nightmare to take part in the auction that's going to give him something interesting. Keep guessing, my dear readers. Keep guessing. I can give you a clue. Abyssal. Chapter 210. Honored guests, we shall now auction away the first item. What this hidden item is, I will reveal it to you now. With that, the old man extended his arm to grab the cloth and abruptly tore it away to reveal a small vial bottle. Inside the small vial, a silver liquid glowed, lighting the entire stage with its light. The very first item is the Radiant Soul Healer. For the honored guests who are unfamiliar with this item, it is hard to come by medicine that has the healing effect of 100 high-quality healing potions combined. As its name suggests, it could not only heal physical wounds but it could also heal any soul damages to a certain point. The starting price of the miraculous once-in-a-lifetime item has the starting price of 50,000 gold coins. Minimum 5,000 increase per new bid. You may begin bidding. 55,000 gold coins, 60,000 gold coins, 70,000, 75,000 coins. Just as the host finished speaking, the people in the audience immediately started to fight over the Radiant Soul Healer. This potion was indeed superior in every way compared to the healing potion Michael brews. This potion required extremely rare herbs to brew. He could make more gold coins by selling normal healing potions than searching for these rare herbs, which was a waste of time in his opinion. Of course, he could always buy the herbs from the system store, except the system's price for each herb was ridiculously high. As Michael sat and watched the people around him fight for the medicine, there was a faint smile on his face. He realized this auction is going to make him richer than he was initially expecting. After a fierce battle, the bottle of radiant healing potion was sold to the highest bidder for a price of 95,000 gold coins. The whole audience became silent for a few moments after the first item. Everyone stared at the auction stage, waiting for Goran to bring out the next auction item. Surprisingly, the old man didn't give another long-winded speech or any description about the item. Instead, he just pulled away the cloth, revealing a glowing longsword. The longsword was constantly producing a buzzing sound, and it was trembling from within to escape the glass box. Many people could identify that it was a rare weapon with a single glance. Any weapon that was above uncommon class was extremely scarce and expensive in the Elon continent because, in the Elon continent, there were only a handful of blacksmiths who reached 3-star or star levels above it. That handful of blacksmiths rarely sold anything they made in auctions like these, since they all tend to sell the weapons to only a certain people they wish to. Therefore, it was very difficult for a rogue cultivator or one who doesn't have a powerful background to obtain a rare weapon. The last time Michael saw these weapons in action was at Nether Realm. They were quite powerful, yet he wasn't interested in them as the people sitting downstairs. This is a rare weapon, and the starting price is 100,000 gold coins. Each new bid must be increased by 10,000 coins. Do I have 110,000? 110, 120, 000 coins. The audience sitting downstairs kept bidding. Some people had earned quite a lot of money during many trade fairs around the continent, and they didn't have a rare weapon. Therefore, they wanted to buy one now. The auction house did, after all, have to consider everyone's feelings. If the entire auction was all about exceptional and precious items that only people in VIP rooms could afford, those people downstairs would only be bystanders. Hence, the auction started auctioning some ordinary items. It also served to make the atmosphere livelier. The special guests on the second floor were all quiet. They didn't pay any attention to the sword. They knew that the auction had just started, and the items shown at the initial stage would just be some ordinary items. The real deal would appear later. Noah, why aren't you bidding? Michael was surprised to see Noah, Alicia, the golden Babaru named Norvin, and Maisie, the little girl who tried to take Nightmare for herself in the Nether Realm. He felt Nightmare's body heat rising looking at the mirror in his hands. So they are also here, Michael thought. He kinda expected to see familiar faces like them. After all, this was a major event in the Elon continent. I don't want another rare weapon, Noah waved off Norvin. In the auction hall, a rogue warrior won the rare weapon for 200,000 gold coins. This was basically the standard price for an ordinary rare weapon. There were, after all, different qualities amongst all rare weapons. For example, a rare weapon forged by a 5-star blacksmith would be far more superior and powerful than a rare weapon forged by a 4-star blacksmith. There was nothing special about the next items. They were all some rare category spells and some ordinary pills. The auction continued for nearly an hour, but none of the special guests on the second floor had started bidding yet. On the other hand, the atmosphere downstairs had become heated. All the warriors were yelling and shouting their bids. People began to fight over item after item, especially for the ones that were rare and very hard to come by. Among all of these items, not a single one of them interested Michael or Noah. Alright, all the previous treasures were mere appetizers. Next up will be the real deals. Everyone, please hold your breath. Try and guess what this is. The host suddenly stopped speaking as his eyes swept over the audience. Almost as if everyone was one huge collective consciousness, the whole audience concentrated on the stand in front of the old man. Compared to the other stands, this stand took up a lot of space on the stage. The old man smiled, walking beside the stand. The old man looked small standing near the cloth-covered stand. The stand was at least 7 foot tall and 10 feet wide. If we received this item earlier, we would have promoted it just as we did to the epic class spells, the audience gasped. Through the mirror, Michael could see even the VIPs standing straight, taking an interest in the item. He too wasn't an exception. There was a huge red cloth covering whatever was inside, making it so that no one could see what was underneath it. However, A huge protrusion underneath the cloth allowed many people to guess just what was being hidden. Everyone in the auction hall had their eyes glued to the red cloth-covered thing. As the old man slowly took the black cloth away, the hidden object underneath was finally revealed to the eagerly anticipating crowd. Underneath was only the pitch-black colored body of a magical beast that weirdly resembled the Tyrannosaurus Rex. A few of the closer and more observant guests could clearly see the small black wings on the back of the magical beast. This magical beast was just quietly lying inside the cage, completely still. Its body was about 9 feet long, 6 foot tall. This was when the beast was lying, not when standing on its 4 legs. If it was standing, it would be at least 12 foot tall. Don't tell me that this is the fusion stage magical beast. Fusion stage magical beasts actually look like this? It's clearly dead, but how could it still radiate arch energy? Today is the day that I finally got to see a fusion stage magical beast. It really is a fusion stage magical beast's carcass. It seems like a blackwing saurus. Human, we must get this corpse no matter what, he heard Gaia's voice through the earbud. She sounded extremely excited. Definitely someone from your end will get this. Just make sure you know who. He could tell she was suppressing her voice so no one near her would hear her. It was no secret to Michael that if a cultivator and a magical beast of the same stage fought, most of the time, odds were at the side of the magical beast because the magical beast has a tougher body, more resistance to spell damage, and innate abilities. Magical beasts were also very different from humans as they would usually stick to their own areas instead of strolling out and about. If they did come across any humans, those humans would surely die. He knew how powerful a fusion stage cultivator could be after traveling with Layla. If it wasn't for the system leaving a mark in her soul that prevented her from hurting him, he would have shred to pieces in a blink of an eye when she attacked him. She was the most powerful cultivator he had ever met since he came to this world. A few Vina notes from her could kill 100 core formation warriors in a few mere moments. So he was able to imagine what damage a fusion stage beast could do. After the fusion stage magical beast was revealed, the originally quiet auction house instantly buzzed to life. Everyone's gazes gathered on the fusion stage magical beast's body lying on the stage. The sounds of intense discussion and gasps of amazement overlapped ceaselessly. Among the people present, quite a few had lived for dozens of years, yet had never seen a fusion stage magical beast before now. Ladies and gentlemen, suddenly, the old man's voice spread throughout the entire auction house. After these words, the loud and chaotic auction house gradually calmed down. The old man standing on the stage smiled as he looked at the hundreds of thousands of people attending the auction and loudly declared, "Ladies and gentlemen, this magical beast in front of me is indeed the fusion stage magical beast Blackwing Saurus. Although it has already lost its monster core, it is still a treasure. I'm sure that everyone sitting here knows that eating a fusion stage magical beast's meat for a long period of time will not only strengthen your body but will also improve your cultivation speed. A talented blacksmith could forge powerful weapons and items using the skin and bones of the magical beast. Don't forget that consuming a potion or pill made using the parts of this beast would significantly decrease the chances of meeting bottlenecks in your cultivation journey. However, what I'm going to tell you next is what makes this magical beast truly special, including Michael. Everyone was on the edge of their seats expecting the old man's next words. Many people in this world had reached the end of their lives trying to break the bottlenecks between two cultivation stages. The chances of meeting bottlenecks after breaking through to the core formation stage were higher than any other stage. Because of this, many were stuck on the core formation stage, trying desperately to break the bottleneck to reach the next stage. Although the chances of stumbling upon a bottleneck at the core formation stage were higher, it doesn't mean there are no bottlenecks in the stages after core formation. The skin of this Blackwing Saurus can withstand a tremendous amount of damage. Even our warriors and mages of the core strengthening stage couldn't cut through the skin, and they attacked with rare class spells and weapons. After hearing the host's last sentence, the originally calm auction house once again burst into a clamor. Everyone was staring intently at the fusion stage magical beast on the stage, filled with feelings of desire and greed. At this time, everyone imagined one thing: An armor made of Blackwing Saurus skin that could make them nearly invincible before a freaking core strengthening stage cultivator. Chapter 2:11. The very next moment, the host's voice resonated through the air once more. Right now, the Blackwing Saurus will be auctioned. The starting bid is 300,000 gold coins. Every time a new bid is proposed, it must be at least 10,000 gold coins higher than the previous bid. I bid 310,000 gold coins. As soon as the host finished his declaration, a bid was immediately heard from one of the VIP rooms. 320,000 gold coins. A voice from another VIP room declared. 330, 350, 000 coins, 400, 000, one after another. Frighteningly high bids rang out from the VIP rooms in the auction house. Currently, none of the people sitting in the general area of the auction house could interject. If one wanted to purchase the Blackwing Saurus, they not only had to have enough money, they also had to have a certain amount of strength. Otherwise, as soon as they left the auction house, the Blackwing Saurus would get stolen from them. That's why the people fighting over the Blackwing Saurus right now had to have reached a certain level of power, and were not at all concerned about it being stolen from them. 500,000 coins. The fight over the Blackwing Saurus was extremely intense. In just the blink of an eye, the price had already risen to the astronomical value of 500,000 gold coins. Moreover, it was still rising without showing any signs of stopping. 600,000 gold coins. This Blackwing Saurus will be our Foxlows. If anyone dares to fight us for it, they'll make the entire Foxlow clan their enemy. A deep voice echoed from one of the VIP rooms. Its tone was extremely arrogant, and it was evident that the person was determined to win. Foxlow clan, as in Kingdom Dreidel's Foxlow clan? It's actually the Foxlow clan. They're Kingdom Dreidel's #1 clan and are extremely powerful. Even the Kingdom Dreidel's lord is extremely courteous to the Foxlow clan. I didn't think that they'd come to attend this event. Hearing the words, Foxlow clan, the auction house immediately buzzed with conversation. Although the Foxlow clan was not a superpower of Kingdom Dreidel, their relationship with the King of Dreidel and the important noble families of Dreidel gave them enough power to become an influential house there. Foxlow clan's people, you can't say that. This place is an auction house. No matter what, it will go to the highest bidder. Our house fisher will bid 1,000,000 gold coins. This Blackwing Saurus will be ours for sure. A slightly aged voice rang out from the opposite VIP room in response to the Foxlow clan member. Isn't the house fisher a power from Royal Land? The house fisher is extremely low profile. Even the royal family of Royal Land avoids clashes with house fisher. Yeah, I remember a few years back, one of the rich, spoiled princes offended a young miss of the house fisher, and the prince was mercilessly beaten by the Miss bodyguards. Everyone thought the royal family would be outraged at House Fisher, but instead, the royal family issued an apology notice to House Fisher. No shit, it said that the House Fisher is actually the strongest family in Royal Land. However, because they're extremely low-key, they normally don't show themselves, to the point where some people have never even heard of them. You're absolutely correct. I wasn't aware of them until I went to Morningstar and met Alex Fisher, House Fisher. Isn't Selena's boyfriend's name Alex Fisher? Michael thought after the little quarrel among the VIPs. After the House Fisher had spoken, the only sounds heard were of a few people discussing among themselves. For a while, nobody else bid. Even the previously determined Foxlow clan had suddenly fallen mute in a period of hesitation. Royal Land, House Fisher. Michael took a mental note of this family. Based on the scene unfolding in front of him, he could already see that the House Fisher was quite powerful. After a moment of silence, an extremely energetic, middle-aged man finally said from within another box, I didn't think that the House Fisher would be so interested in this Blackwing Saurus. In that case, our House Oswin won't enter this fight over this magical beast. I hope that the House Fisher will return the favor by not bidding for the next item. Of course. We won't participate in the battle over the next one. The slightly aged voice from the House Fisher could be heard once more, this time with a hint of a smile in his tone. In that case, our House Oswin won't bid for this Blackwing Saurus. Our Morningstar sect will also give up on it. After House Fisher's declaration, powers that weren't at all weak began to give up on the fight over the Blackwing Saurus one after another, giving the House Fisher some face. Hee, I thank everyone for House Fisher, an elder from the House Fisher laughed gently. Human, don't bid. Well, take the beast in some other ways. Michael heard Gaia's voice. He wanted to screw them by bidding for the beast, but he chose not to because this was not the time nor the place to make a powerful enemy for the sake of petty grudge against Alex and Selena. Besides, as Gaia said, they could always steal the Blackwing Saurus from them. After everyone stopped bidding for the beast, the Blackwing Saurus was given to the House Fisher for the successful bid of 1 million gold coins. We shall now proceed to auction the next item. Bring it up. This time the old man lifted the cloth to reveal an old worn-out spell scroll. This is one of the epic spells you've all been waiting for. This spell will let the caster conjure a storm around the position of the caster. The storm will last for 2 full minutes. It can obliterate even a group core strengthening cultivators and heavily wound a soul refining cultivator. The people in both downstairs and the VIP rooms gasped in shock as the host continued. For the obvious reasons, we cannot let one of our mages cast the spell. But you can imagine its power from what I just said. For 2 whole minutes, you'll be a god of thunder. The starting price is 500,000 gold coins, with each minimal bid being 20,000 gold coins more. As soon as the host finished talking, a frightening amount of prices started to be called out from the audience. Perhaps it was because this was one of the epic class spells. Everyone started to battle it out even more intensely than before they did for the Blackwing Saurus. Quickly, the original price of 500,000 had reached up to triple its amount. 5 million, 6 million inch in a few moments. The price of the spell had reached a price of 6 million. Hearing the endlessly increasing price of gold coins, the seated Michael couldn't help signing. His total wealth was only 5 million, but these families were willing to spend millions to acquire a spell scroll. Even if he wanted to get this spell, now he simply couldn't. The House Oswin bids 65 million. The Foxlow clan bids 7 million. The Golden Valley bids 73 million. The prices continued to increase as many sides continued to fight bitterly over this spell, and they increased the bid by more than 20,000 gold coins each time. Quickly, the Blackwing Saurus had surpassed the 8 million coins mark. The Foxlow clan bids 9 million gold coins. Immediately the Foxlow clan offered the high price of 9 million gold coins, making many gasps for air and shock. An epic spell was extremely rare in Elon continent, and any single epic spell could make a cultivator dangerously powerful even if the cultivator wasn't at higher stages of cultivation. Even the superpowers in Elon didn't have more than a couple of epic spells under their belt, and adding one more than their rival would always give them the edge. Hence, the superpowers went all in for the spell. Before the auction house could resume its price war, another voice called out, "The House Oswin bids 2 million. The House Oswin had won up the pressure on the Foxlow clan." Bang! Then suddenly, another sound came out from the Foxlow clan box. Michael saw there are a total of 5 middle-aged men and an elder sitting in the Foxlow clan VIP box. One of the middle-aged men dressed in a white robe heavily slammed his fist on the wooden table in front of him, creating an indent in it. "House Oswin, you dare to compete with us, the Foxlow clan? Fine, we'll make you regret it," the white-robed middle-aged man said through clenched teeth, a dark expression on his face. The other people had unsightly expressions on their faces. "If we continue fighting like this, I'm afraid that the epic spell price will clamber up to a point that even we cannot reach," the elder said with a downcast expression. "What other choice do we have? This fucking spell has attracted quite a few people. Now, all the powers still fighting over it aren't any weaker than our clan," the white-robed middle-aged man said in exasperation. 1 million. At this moment, another voice declared a price. Seeing the price climb higher and higher, the expressions of the few people from the Foxlow clan became more and more unsightly. The middle-aged man's eyes flashed fiercely, and he shouted, "Foxlow clan bids 2 million inch, Jesus Christ. I should start planning to rob these people," Michael thought, raising his brows. Only if the host has adventured out more, You could have found a subordinate with a forger trait. Then, you would have been able to forge a spell to make a shitload of gold coins. The system scolded Michael. Its voice was not at all friendly. In fact, it sounded extremely annoyed. The VIPs continued to fight for the epic spell until House Oswin won the spell for a whopping 2.5 million gold coins. Although Michael was jealous of their wealth, he was also happy thinking that his herbs had the chance to sell for more than he had been expecting. After the Blackwing Saurus and the epic spell, everyone was at the edge of their seats waiting for the next item. Many couldn't sit still without craning their heads to scan the stage. Something's wrong. Michael could see the genuine smile on the old man's face disappear as it was being replaced by a fake one. Almost as if he was trying to smile and look calm. The old man walked to the stand, which was not as big as the Blackwing Saurus. "Oh, come on. Show us the item." "Yes, show us." The people downstairs began to shout at the old man's sloth-like movements. Finally, with a small sigh, the old man removed the cloth to reveal nothing but a round pebble. "What the fuck? I've been thinking about releasing 2 chapters a day and creating a 10-chapter privilege for 470 coins. If you show me your support by leaving chapter comments saying go for it author, I'll get straight to work." You're tuning in to the Wandering Hero YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.